and welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast. My name is Richie Riche of the MHRT Network. You may recognize or notice that we have someone new on the show today representing the Las Vegas Raiders. Please welcome Raiders Rebel. Round of applause, please. Fantastic. Thank you for joining, Rebel. How are things going?
Everything's going great. You know, we get a little jump on the AFC West starting in OTAs, so we get to, work out a little bit before y'all get to test the waters. Seems to be looking good in camp. Season's right around the corner. Couldn't be more excited. And appreciate y'all having me on. It's
Fantastic.
Definitely first time in enemy territory on a live show, so
it's not that bad. Not that bad. We're all pretty tame.
Look, we're an acquired taste. I understand. We're an acquired taste. It's all good.
It is a strange concept, though, right? Like having we're still looking for that, the infamous red team to join the stream, but
we won't mention their name.
His searches, it just goes on and on and on. I don't know. They won't come out of the woodworks, but it's a cool concept. Having all four, you get a feel about each team. During the season, I think is my favorite because we go like into game planning and then we talk about the results and stuff, and it's really fun. But right now we're just talking news and shooting the, you know what.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do this for a minute. I've been trying to, I got to search for three. I've been trying to find a Chargers and a Broncos and a Chiefs fan to kind of do the same thing. So, if you guys find some other ones, let me know. but so Chiefs fans are non-existent. You think with all the Super Bowls they have, they would, they'd be relishing the fact to come on here and rub it in all of our faces.
When they start winning again, if they win like a couple games, they'll come out of the woodworks. I mean, I'm primarily on.
Yeah, that's the way it works.
I'm primarily on X, and it will just. My feed will just go all Chiefs after that, so we'll see. But right now, it's crickets.
Yeah. You would think they're definitely not like Raider fans. We could be 2-15, and
they're super excited. Yeah, you've got a lot to be excited about. I mean, you popped in the chat, right?
Yeah. I've been in the chat a couple times.
Yeah,
I enjoy the show. I've seen Kenna on, and then my guy Navman as well. So
exciting.
Yeah, Raiders fans definitely weather the storm much better. I find the Chiefs fans do overall. I find that Chiefs fans are.
Yeah. Right,
well,
Richie?
I find that the Broncos fans were still loud enough online and everything, and still willing to kind of voice their opinion and whatnot, even when the Broncos were going through that almost 10-year stretch after Super Bowl 50. Where they were not great. We'll just put it that way. They were not a great football team. And that was in large part, I think, because the Broncos still had at least one side of the ball or a handful of players on the team that were kind of bright lights, as it were. And frankly, if I'm going to be honest, I think it'd be a fair statement that the Raiders have had a bit of a similar issue in terms of maybe not the most excessive as of late, but you have some real bright spots on your team in the last few years, and you've acquired more of them in the last few years as well. So like Max Crosby was that kind of like beacon of light on the team where you're like, if we could just add a few guys around him, wow, you know what I mean? And you knew you had at least a North Star prospect that was on your roster already. And then you started to build it up in the last few years. Like you got Bowers, you have a few other dudes on the team. You have a couple guys that may work out, may not. We'll wait and see kind of if they fit the new scheme and whatnot where you're at. That's, by the way, I'm speaking from experience on the Broncos side where I was like the lone dissenting voice of saying that guy won't work out. And the rest of the Broncos fan base were like, but he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I was like, yeah, right. Okay, bud. Look, you want the team to do as well as it possibly can as a fan. And some dudes just don't fit certain schemes, and it is what it is. You just simply have to accept it and frankly wish them the best when they go to another team, because it's not necessarily their fault that your team made the change, but your team made the change nonetheless, and you just kind of got to roll with it.
Yeah, I feel like our major problem is, not even the last 5 or 10 years, but the last 20 years. It's just keeping coaches in the building, right? Having a coach for more than a season is is an accomplishment around here. It seems like nowadays, for Raider Nation. So it's hard to, no matter who you draft, because when you bring in a new head coach, that head coach has, his identity, his scheme, his system, his player system fit, and it's not always the same as the last regime. So when you have turnover every single year, those players fall to the wayside because you bring in a new coach. Now they're not favored by that coach. They weren't drafted by that coach. So unless they're like a Max Crosby type or a Brock Bowers type, they don't really stand out. So they just kind of, get shuffled further and further down the depth chart unless, and then I guess when you get in that situation mentally, it's probably hard to, overcome that. So I think our biggest problem is just keeping a coach in the building for more than a year. I mean, if you look at Ashton Genty, or not even Ashton Genty, but Ashton Genty last year, 2 offensive coordinators, bad offensive line coaching, so bad that the team went out on their own with Spytek after practices and tried to, work on that offensive line, which says a lot for our unit. But, just coaching, I think we just need stability in the building. We thought, AP might be that guy, and then you get rid of Chip Kelly, and then you bring in, Tom Telesco, and that doesn't work. And it seems like they were never on the same page. And so hopefully, with the 5-year contract with Clint Kubiak, I think the feeling in the building is you don't have to worry about security, right? If you're a player on this team and you were at least drafted in the last, 3 years, you have a chance to compete. And I don't think we've had that. And I mean, since Gruden, really.
Yeah, you mentioned something. You like a turnover, right? Like it's so hard to. It's scheme fits, right? And it's like in the NFL, what it seems like this day and age. What's probably always been that way, but it's like you got to be drafted at the right time with the right team or sign the right contract, because we've seen like great players go to teams and then just fail, and they're just in purgatory. It seems like NFL purgatory for the longest time. Like key and point, probably like. For me, is like Sam Darnold, like as a quarterback, or even Geno Smith before he went to you guys, because that was horrible what he did with you guys. But before then, he was like floating around for like a decade before he got a shot with the Seahawks. So you've got these players, but like Nav was talking about this with the Raiders. Like you guys had that whole rookie class. I think it was last year's class that you guys barely get to see any of it, right? Like Pete wouldn't play any of these guys. So now you have this new regime coming in, and they've got to figure out a way to see these guys, right? And then this year we only have, or I mean, it's been this way for a while. It's only 3 preseason games. It's like there's only so much. So it's like,
yeah,
dude, it's tough, man. It's tough to make it on these teams. And then, one man's trash is another man's treasure, right? Like we're always seeing teams scoop guys up, off the waiver wires as soon as when camp breaks and, 53s are set and things like that. So, it'll be interesting how it shakes out.
Yeah, I mean, we've had Patrick Graham in the building on defense for 4 years, and that's the only stability, right? And it seemed like that defense with Robert Spillane and, Marcus Epps that we had, and Caleb Von Chasen even, right? And Trayvon Morig, like that defense, they started, they were around each other for a couple years, right? 2, 3, 4 years, some of those guys. They started to build that chemistry. And then you have Pete Carroll just come in and totally wipe that out, get rid of everybody, let everybody walk in free agency. So, yeah, just you get good players in the building, and I think they just don't get a chance to shine because every year it's a new coach. Or, I mean, if you look at the offensive system, they've had 8 or 9 offensive coordinators in 4 years. We fired one every single year in the middle of the year, and then you go with somebody else. So these guys, for rookies, it's hard to develop guys that, all through camp and training camp, you're focused on one system. And then, somewhere in the middle of the year, now you got a new OC with a new system, same playbook, but a different, aspect and mindset of what he wants to accomplish, whether it's, running a wide zone or a strong zone or, mid inside. So, yeah, it's just difficult for the players, difficult for the fan base. And hopefully,
luckily you guys have a few key, really good players, right? Like you can just plug and play them anywhere, right? Genty, Bowers, JPJ, things like guys like that have, like, I'm pissed that Tom Telesco got you some of those guys. I'm like, of course he goes to the enemy and gets like generational tight end for them when, Herbert hasn't had a guy since what's his name? Hunter Henry left to
right.
They've been searching. Hopefully Gazin's that guy. We did get Njoku, so we'll see how he does this season.
And what's up with the Chargers? Like you just said, they don't, they haven't had really that tight end for many, many moons, right? It's been forever. And they've been searching, man. There were a lot in the draft last year. There were a lot in this year's draft. Like,
I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, in the fan base, they're like, what the? I mean, we're past the 10-minute mark, but they're like, WTF about the center position and tight end position, because they failed to address the center, and we ran 2 seasons with Bradley Bozeman, who's by far probably one of the worst centers, especially with the Chargers. And then the tight end, Gazin did have an amazing rookie season last year, and we're hoping that, that just keeps stacking up. But yeah, for years, it was Gerald Everett and just Donald Parham and just, guys like that, and just couldn't have it. When we see Bowers just immediate, we're like, oh God, Jesus Christ.
Right. Well, yeah, Gaston was not quite that level, but he definitely showed signs. But I just think like Harbaugh, and with the running backs they have and the quarterback they have, that 12 personnel would be a lot more suited for their offense. And just going out and get one of those guys in the draft this year would have definitely helped that. And I thought with Mike Daniel coming in as the OC, that they would have definitely went out and tried to fill that tight end role this year. But
thank God
they didn't.
They got a guy who I'm like really high on, and Charlie Kohler from the Ravens. That's that guy. I've been high on him for a while. He was behind Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews there, and I think when Andrews or Likely, one of those guys went down, he actually because he low man on the totem pole. Like, this guy came in, he was like 1,000-yard tight end receiving guy I think out of Iowa, if I'm not mistaken. Wasn't a blocker at all, and you have to learn to block in the AFC North. Right? Good luck, right? And he's now becoming one of the better tight end blockers in the league. I don't want to say he's a top. I don't know where I'd rank him yet, but the guy's got sure hands. So I'm high on him as an every down tight end. And then, the tight end room still, like, after the draft, we're like, there's still more spots to fill. And I was like expecting like a Darren Waller or like a Jonnu Smith or something. And then they get Njoku, who is my number one guy. Like, I know he's had like last, I think it's like season or two, it's kind of been down. But I mean, dude, he's dealing with a nagging knee injury, and he's been on like a losing team. I talked about this weeks ago, but I mean, he's played with like 7 quarterbacks in the last like 2 seasons alone.
He said down compared to what?
And he had to play with Shador. I mean,
down compared to,
well, like the point is that when your down year is like somewhere in the middle of the NFL,
yeah,
that ain't bad. You know what I mean? Like
right.
there is much worse out there than, hey, he had a down year. He was only like upper middle of the pack. It's like, there are teams out there that would kill for that. You know what I mean? Like,
right. And his contract was really bizarre. It's really low. It's 1 year. I think he's betting on himself. I think they're like, hey, come over here, ball out, and then get yourself a contract with some other team next year, for a couple years or whatever. You're going to get the bag. And that's something I've noticed with this regime. They've kind of done that. They're like, we saw some of the guys that left this offseason get the bag at other teams. And I think that's their deal, is they're trying to do that comp pick formula deal. They're like, come over here and we'll get you in the right spot. And then you go get paid somewhere else, and we'll just keep the guys that we want. But I meant more like the 23, his all pro year or whatever, his Pro Bowl year. Like, it's the 24 season and the 25 season were kind of bummers for him. And I think I blame it on injuries and quarterback play. But
yeah, I feel like he's definitely going to help definitely going to help that offense. And with Justin Herbert, might be going out on a limb, but I think it's the best quarterback he's played with, so far. So I think I think that's going to help him. You have, a lot, an accurate guy. I guess you did have Flacco in Cleveland for a little bit throwing him the ball, but I think Herbert, and that just opens up their offense a lot, because now you have a decent run game. You have, the whole draft was offensive line, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of that. Was like, this is something that you would have thought they would have done like a couple. Like last year, they got like one guy in the 7th round, Branson Taylor, and I think he was like on the 2nd team or 3rd team O line today. Could have been 3rd, I don't know. But everybody was just like, what are you guys doing? And we saw what happened. Like last year, O line just killed us. Same with you guys, right? Like, and when they went out and got many O linemen, especially UDFA guys. I know I haven't talked about UDFA. I've been really busy the last few weeks, but they got who's that guy? Richie Isaiah World. That's one guy that we're really high on. He's gonna have like a redshirt year because I think he's recovering from an ACL or something. But they got some good guys, man. I'm super excited about this O line, and they've got some competition. But we'll talk about it later. But like the guys that they had as the starters in those guard spots kind of left some of the fans a little soured, especially with the rookies they got. But
you spent all that money on Mekhi Becton last year, right? For what?
Dude,
so that's rough, and that's I got my fingers crossed, but Tyler Linderbaum, 3 years, $81 million is a lot of money, and I was saying all off season, like, please just don't let it be another situation where you go out and give this offensive lineman a bag and then just does nothing for your team but hurt it.
I'll say something, Raider Rebel, about that. Tom Telesco made Corey Linsley. He signed him from the Packers, and at the time he was like the best free agent center. And when he was healthy with the Chargers, ready to rock, like he transformed that whole offensive line just from that center spot, right? And then he unfortunately had his like heart issue, had to retire. But after him, it's just like the tight end position. They've been searching for centers forever, and hopefully this year they got their guy in Tyler Biadasz. But I think center's so effing important. You just don't really understand it. And getting a guy of Tyler Linderbaum's caliber is massive. And I think the Raiders they were like, look, dude, we're going to pay you. If we got to suffer this year, we're going to make it worth your while, right? We're building here. You're going to be here for a while. So that's the way I looked at it.
Yeah, I'm hoping to have that New England turnaround.
I'm pissed. I know Richie wants to talk, but I'm pissed that you guys have JPJ and Linderbaum, 2X wrestlers next to each other.
Yeah, that's going to be scary. The only thing about JPJ is he's got, availability is the best ability, and he's not been able to show that.
Well, isn't he getting that new helmet thing or something? Or is he?
I hope whatever he does, I hope. But it was first the helmet, and then then the ankle. So he's got to stay healthy. But at least this year we have depth behind him, right? We're not having to put in Alex Kappa or Stone Forsythe.
I don't know who's worth Becton or Kappa. I mean, they were horrible.
Well, I mean, we only paid $5 million for Kappa, so I'd have to go with Becton.
Richie doesn't know about bad O-line play.
So I got a question actually primarily for Rebel. So I really like JPJ, like really, really like JPJ. The problem that I have with JPJ is that I think, this is my opinion on him, he is better suited as a power center than he is in a zone role, which is what he's now been in. Like, he's going into a zone, a wide zone with Kubiak, and he came from a zone-ish. I mean, look, there's not much you can really call out when it comes to the Carrolls there. There was so much that went wrong, but they attempted to play a variant on the zone, And I just don't think that he is well suited for that as a player. Curious as to your thoughts.
I feel the same way, right? If you're asking him, if you're asking him to pull, which you're going to be doing a lot in a Kubiak system, right? You're going to be, be pulling an awful lot. I'm sure that he moves his guards, he moves his tackles. I mean, he can get to the next level with blocking. There's been a lot of people that think he's better at the guard position, but a lot of Raider Nation feel like he's just better at the center position. And I've talked about this on my channel all off season is if he doesn't win that guard position, because you got Caleb Rogers who played very well. You have Jordan Meredith.
Good year.
Yeah,
he had a good year, Rogers.
Right? Yeah, for coming in at the end of the season, he he played very, very solid for a 3rd round pick, and then on a bad offensive line with bad coaching on top of that, and then you look at the fact where you also have Spencer Burford that they brought in, who knows the system from the 49ers. So that's another guard. And then Meredith, like I said, 2 years ago, was the top 5 guard in all of football when he was playing right guard, and they moved him to center. So last year, should have an asterisk next to it. I think they went completely backwards from where they were, even with Antonio Pierce. When he took over mid-season, that team was on, a total another, trajectory. And then to start the season, you decide to go with, Gardner Minshew, and then that all falls apart. So they started to rise and then just fell off completely. So yeah, I feel like JPJ is better at center. And, I've said it a bunch of times that if some of these guys that we've brought in, like Caleb Rogers, like Burford, or Jordan Meredith, just having the experience. I don't know if he quite has the athleticism to quite play that role, but he has the experience. And, having all these guys behind JPJ, that if he doesn't win out that guard spot and one of these guys take it, I'm sure there's a lot of teams that need a center that are calling his agent, not calling his agent and saying, hey, let him know that we need a center, not a guard. And if you want to play center, come over here. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's the starting right guard to start the season, but with the injuries, and all that, if he can't stay healthy, I wouldn't be surprised if he's not here next year, if he can't make it through a whole entire season and be athletic enough to show that he can fit in this wide zone.
Chargers are doing something pretty similar, Raider Rebel, with that your situation right now with JPJ. It's like you're like, he's a center, right? Like, but he did play guard, so he does have experience at guard at least last year or whatever, right? I'm pretty sure. And then you bring in Tyler Linderbaum, bona fide. That's your center. He's not playing anywhere else, right? And then, but this is the same situation. I feel like the Chargers. They bring in Biotish, they sign him in this 3-year deal, and then you draft Jake Slaughter, right? Who was looked at as one of the
Slaughter was my guy in the draft. I mentioned one of our shows, right?
Yeah, he was a blue star, gold star, whatever the hell you want to call it, guy for our GM. And they went up and they're like, we're getting this guy. Like, this is my dude. And so they're like, hey, we're going to try you out at guard. And it's like, you drafted this guy that high, but he's never played guard before.
And he's a center. I don't know. I don't understand that either.
So the 2 snaps he did play at the Senior Bowl were pretty piss poor, right? So I'm like, I hope this works out, but I'm not going to sweat it, because it is a good problem to have a really good backup center. Because if anything happens to your center, like I said, that whole O-line essentially crumbles almost when your center goes down. That being said, they did give themselves some leeway with like some free agents this year. There's some competition, but I don't know. Maybe they know JPJ is a good center, and they're like, look, dude, like, we're going to cross train this cat and just see what he can do. He might be too valuable to just trade off or something.
Yeah, as long as he can stay healthy. And then I think in the last 2 years, he has 14 penalties, right? And Kubiak come in, he's preaching, smart offensive linemen, right? Guys that aren't going to hurt the team. So he's going to have to overcome some of that aggressiveness and, playing after the whistle. And that's going to be a big step for him too, because you don't want to tell a guy, calm it down, right? We need that aggressiveness, right? You need that guy to be a bulldozer in the run game and move bodies and get to the next level, right? And I think he can be that guy, but if you can't control the penalties and you can't be healthy and stay on the field, I think that's a problem. That's why
it reminds me of a guy on my team, Trevor Penning.
And then
all the penalties.
And then they go and get Trey Zune in this draft, who we're talking about moving. A lot of people were saying to center, who's played mostly left tackle, and now there's a lot of talk about him playing guard, and we need a right tackle. So, DJ Glaze has struggled, and we don't know what DJ Glaze is.
Who was the other guy at right tackle besides Glaze that you guys had play last year?
Last year, it was just DJ Glaze.
Was it Grant?
They had Charles Grant. They brought him in to, I guess, be the heir apparent for Colton Miller on the left side.
Okay.
So they haven't really played him, but I guess so far in camp they've been, playing him on the right side a little bit. So maybe they move him over to the right side. But yeah, DJ Glaze has just had a rough go of everything. Got thrown into the fire as a rookie, right? When Thayer Mumford got hurt, and has been that guy ever since. Hasn't really had competition. So, Trey Zune doesn't make sense either. There's a lot of talk that he's going to be the backup center, but with his interview, he said he can play all 5 positions. But in college, he hasn't played all 5 positions. So if you got to train a guy to play the guard position, how much center snaps are you going to get, right? How much right tackle and left tackle snaps are you going to get? So a lot of people in Raider Nation have Trey Zune pinned as being a starter to start the season, which to me, I don't see that, right? If you're let me know your guys' opinion. If you're training a guy to be a guy that plays every position, right? To me, that's your 6th man, right? That's a guy that
it's your swing tackle.
Yeah, that's your swing. Everybody, right?
Yeah.
Swing tackle. He's going to be in on jumbo sets. That's your next guy. But then you have Charles Grant. That's was that guy last year. So it's going to be interesting to see. We haven't been in a position in a long time where we're like, man, we don't know, who's going to make the roster and who's not. They brought in some UDFAs, BYU guy Isaiah Jada. And, he's very athletic, 6'7", 316. So another big athletic guy with long arms, can play the position, but he's more of a left tackle. They can transition him to right. So we actually have a lot of pieces on the offensive line for first time in a long time, where it's going to be, questionable of what guys make this team and what position they're going to be playing in.
It's kind of fun when you have a lot of players. Real quick, Richie, but like we're in the sim. I feel like our teams are similar on the offensive line, like just weeding through, looking for players and such. But I would like to tell everybody, like, don't jump on these players so quickly, like, pull back a little bit. I like to give these guys especially O-linemen coming out of college, I could give them about a year, maybe 2 seasons, or maybe 2 off seasons to really mesh and get with what the regime wants them to do. And like you said, now that it seems like the Raiders are going to have some sort of stability, they're going to start building that foundation of guys they want, and you'll see them start getting rid of guys that don't fit their scheme, don't fit their. So that's kind of thing about JPJ that made me think like maybe he's too valuable. Maybe they're going to cross train him. You never know. We'll see.
So 2 things I want to quickly just bring up here from the chat. Cornbread dropping in
$5
fiber in a super here on the MHRT network. Thank you very much for that super chat, my man. Look, Cornbread, come back next week. I have something I'm putting together that you're gonna find rather interesting. That's about all I'm gonna say right now. But you're gonna be. It probably won't surprise you as much as it will others. But I got something I'm working on that I think you're gonna be quite interested in, pertaining to Bo Nix, and we'll have a look at that maybe next week on the show. And we got a longtime fan of the show. Big E has kind of followed me around on the different pods that I've been on, and he's in I'm in a very, very large group chat with Big E in it, a bunch of Broncos fans, a few content creators lumped into that crew as well, including some of the guys from MHH, Mile High Huddle, which is basically the largest Broncos podcast on the interwebs. So we got Big E coming in here. You've been a great fan of the show. Always had some very insightful information. I have heard, Big E, that you were not well, but I wanted you to be the one to kind of bring things forward. Very sorry to hear that, but keep things positive and know that if you fight, you have a very, very good chance of coming out the other side and coming out stronger as a result of it. So thoughts and prayers are both with you and your family. Hope you get through this thing, and let's go Broncos, and let's hope that we're able to get through this in short order with you.
Amen.
Yeah, amen. Prayers.
Prayers. Yeah. That's it's a tough go as you go through that stuff, and so hopefully you're able to bounce back and do what you got to do and kind of get well soon. On the O-line, Rebel, it sounds more like what you got there is you got a swing interior and you got a swing tackle. And then the question becomes is, now that you got your swing guys, so those are the versatile guys that, funnily enough, are often not good enough to be a starter at any of those positions on your team, but they're definitely good enough to slot in to kind of like fill the void for a couple weeks. You know what I mean? Like if you really need the guy to do the thing, he can step in and do the thing. But you wouldn't necessarily want him to be the guy that's going to like finish out the season for you at the spot. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. And then to your point, typically your swing tackle or your swing guard, I guess it depends on the team and the coaching staff. That's the jumbo package, dude. That's the guy that's coming in on those additional run plays. Normally it's the swing tackle, because the swing tackle almost every game will suit up, like hands down, that's it. And so normally they bring in the jumbo set guy at the swing tackle spot, which, as you said, the dude that you brought in as a UDFA, he's actually someone that's super interesting for me there, because he's got the height, the length, the size, the arms, he's kind of ticking the boxes and stuff as he go down there. And to your point, I said this, and your friend and pal there, let's just say we disagreed on a few things on the show. I didn't think Glaze played particularly well for you guys last year. I thought that he was kind of a bit of a weak link on your O-line. And I think that really does blow the doors off and open that up for you for a guy on the right side as a, whether it be a transition guy from a left to right tackle, whether or not you target a right tackle that's cut from another team that might be a good swing guy there for you. But ultimately, I think your future at right tackle is probably open.
Yeah, it really sounds like that. And, DJ Glaze is definitely gonna earn those, reps, because that's, his job to lose at the moment. But, Isaiah Jada's decent. And then they went and got Henning, right? He was the second overall pick in the CFL, the College Canadian Football League. So you probably know more about the Canadian Football League than I do. But he was the second overall pick in their draft this year, and then the Raiders went and snatched him up. So wow. He's a former tight end. He's 6'7", 287 pounds, and has the wingspan, has the arm length, but he's very, very athletic, obviously, because he played tight end. So he's played 1 year at the right tackle position, and watching his footwork and his kick step and his movement, I was very, very impressed. So I would not be surprised.
What's his name again?
Henning.
Was he a UDFA or was he?
UDFA.
That's crazy. Going from like a top pick in CFL and then go to UDFA and NFL really puts things into perspective.
Yeah, so he got drafted over there, and then somehow
his signing bonus as a UDFA is higher than his playing salary in the CFL.
Well, that shout out for that, right?
Hey, if you want to feel good about it, Joe Alt was a he was a tight end, and he's turned out to be a damn good tackle
right?
in this league. So
right, and then they have a thing with his arm length coming out as well.
No, Joe, he's a specimen. He's gonna be a Hall of Famer.
He's just a monster.
He's just gonna be a freaking monster.
Yeah,
but no, you're talking about Rashawn Slater. Rashawn Slater has where they were like, I don't know, and then he turned out to be really good. We'll see this year though.
Yeah, Joe Alt, man, he was just manhandling Max Crosby out there. I hate to say it, but
he gets beat on speed. He was getting like his weakness is speed, but that's not Crosby's strength, right? Crosby's just got that motor, and so yeah.
Yeah, it's when they're both healthy, Slater and all this, y'all got definitely some nasty bookends for sure over there.
So thought we'd jump in and talk the combined 3 preseason games coming up, because I think that's going to be a rather interesting stretch.
Go ahead, Rich. I saw something.
And by the way, DZ, I encourage you to look at the news that just broke on your team.
What the F just happened?
Wait, what?
Are you talking about
Derwin?
Oh, I already knew that. Yeah, I'm stoked.
Yeah.
I'm stoked.
Yeah.
Why do you say shit like that? Like,
I was thinking the same thing. Like, what happened?
I'm like, dude, I'm scarred already, man.
Justin Herbert, lifetime practice.
Like,
no. I'm sure Herbert's about to announce that,
Madison
Beer's pregnant. Something like that. You know what I mean?
No, I don't. When you say something like that, I'm like, oh god.
And they'll call their child Little Sunshine. It'll just be. It
will be like it will probably be Eugene Sunshine,
Little Sunshine.
Yeah. It'll be something like that. It'll be something like that. All right, we got another $4.99 super here. No comment, but. Again, longtime fan of the MHRT network and has followed me on most shows that I've done. Thank you very much for joining the show. If you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and just leave a follow-up and we'll bring it up here on the show. But thank you again for joining. I just thought it'd be a really interesting thing to look at our preseason games and group them together. I think we had a full show on UDFAs. My favorite part of the draft is the UDFA kind of signing class, just because I think you get some of the best value and talent in some cases from the UDFA players. They fill voids on the team they're really like unsung heroes in a lot of the cases. They're the guys that they have to step into a team and do the dirty work in order to kind of like raise through the ranks. And these guys, when they eventually end their careers, are very often some of the most football, like just high IQ, football IQ guys when you hear them speak, because they literally started hoping they were going to make a roster, having to earn their spot on the roster, and then level up past the bottom rung on the roster to get to become like a starter. And then once they got past that, they then had to solidify themselves as a household name. Oh, and by the way, because they weren't actually drafted, everyone kept on saying that they're going to get bumped because they're going to bring in another guy that's going to like remove them from the roster. So I love the UDFA classes. I think they're super, super interesting players. My favorite part of the draft, and it isn't even close. And the 3 preseason games is where you really get to start seeing the kind of that lower UDFA and kind of extended players. That's where you really get to see where the rubber meets the road.
Let me correct me if I'm wrong, but something I noticed about the Chargers preseason games is all 3 of their preseason are 3 teams are playing in the season. Is that the same for you guys? Because I was like, WTF, like what is this?
Not Houston. We have we play the Cardinals, I do believe. We play the Cardinals at home and the 49ers at home, and we play both of them during the season. And then we play the Houston Texans in Houston, which we don't play during the season. And I'll be at that game if anybody's going.
So I mean, at least you're like 2 for 1, right? Or whatever, 1 out of 2 or something. But we're 3 out of 3. We're all 3 teams in the preseason. which I just had up and I don't know where I lost it, or teams that were playing in the regular season, which I thought was kind of bizarre.
That's weird.
Yeah, I thought that was
doesn't
weird
normally happen.
Oh, when we get into the schedule, I think the league is definitely trying to F us without lube. So
I actually think, I'll probably bring this up later, but I actually think they helped us, and I'll tell you why when we get into the schedule. For the first time, I think the league actually helped the Raiders, and people are looking at it, going, "Oh, they don't have any, primetime games," and I'm like, "Well, that's cool, because we play a lot of teams that do have primetime games, so they're going to be on short weeks, and we have, full weeks to prepare, which is big, and then our travel time is kind of in the middle, and they gave us the NFC West, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, I was surprised with the overall schedule release that 6 teams didn't get one primetime game. And what that tells me is that the companies like Amazon and who else is it? Amazon, Peacock, Netflix, who are all the other...
Everybody, I think. Hulu, I think, has got some now.
Well, that just shows me their influence in this, which is kind of pissing me off. Like, I'm kind of ticked off because... Honestly, like, who is it? The Rams have 7 primetime games or something like that. Like, I don't want to watch the Rams 7 primetime games. Like 7
primetime games, they're not. I mean, they were good, but their defense gave up a lot of points, so they're basically shootout games. So
I don't know. I'm not a Rams fan, and I don't particularly like them. But I was just like, there's a lot of teams getting super rewarded, and then you have a bunch of teams that are said. No, and I would have thought the Raiders with this new regime, Fernando Mendoza, right, would at least got a primetime game in there. But what this is letting me think, or they're probably like, hey, so it's not Mendoza that's going to be playing, essentially. That's what I'm getting from this, because why wouldn't they want to showcase Mendoza in a primetime game?
Well, I mean, that's a good point, but they didn't give Cam Miller a primetime game last year either, right?
And solid as well, right?
Yeah. And he was a first overall pick. So, and I don't know if the Patriots had any primetime games when Drake May was drafted. I didn't look that up, but so I think I really have a strong feeling that unless this team comes out, 7-2, which is looking at our schedule is, that would be a miracle in itself. That Fernando Mendoza plays sometime this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's earlier than that. I think
your last 2 games are TBD, right? Like everybody's, I think, are TBDs, right?
Yeah, just the last one for us, which is weird. It's just the Kansas City game. Everything else is
the Broncos.
Almost all of our games are pretty much determined. The only thing
our last 2 are TBD.
Like in terms of who you're playing or timing?
Timing.
Oh, sorry. I have the last 2. Yes. So you're right. So our last 2 games are TBD, but do you know why?
Well,
because they put our last 2 games against the Patriots and the Chargers. Yeah. And I think that the league is thinking that the Chargers are so well coached. I mean, last year, if you're going to be honest, your team would have won the division if you didn't have the injuries you had.
Well, we would have won the division
both times.
We would have won the division if we didn't lose to teams that we should have won. And with the Giants and like somebody else, it was like the dumbest games ever.
Right, but the point is that I think the league is thinking that the Chargers are going to be highly competitive again because of your coaching staff.
Well, you would have thought they would have rewarded us with primetime, Richie, because we only got 3 primetime games when
I agree.
We averaged like 5 every year or something.
But the problem is that Sean McVay, I think, as far as the league is concerned, brings in the soccer moms better than Harbaugh does, and so they want him on. They want him on camera. They want him on camera.
Put the pretty boy on.
It's not just the Rams. I'm looking. There was other teams with their primetime game. Like I think I have it on bookmark.
And Rebel,
I get what you're saying.
Rebel, I encourage you to take that, clip it, and put it as a short. Right. I think it'll do well. But no, like at the end of the day, the league. I mean, DZ, how many times have we brought this up on the show? The league incognito like. They haven't really advertised this to the fans, but those that actually know. The league has clearly stated that like this is not a football league. This is not a sports league. This is an entertainment league.
Yeah, that's why I was mentioning the TVs.
Yeah.
It's not just one network now. It's not just CBS and Fox, right? And now we have Amazon involved and all these teams, and they're bidding on who they want on their channel to get the highest ratings. And so you have the Rams with 7 primetime games. You have Green Bay, Kansas City, Buffalo, Seattle with 6, right? So the Super Bowl champions have less than the Rams do. You know, Dallas, Philadelphia, Chicago, New England, San Francisco with 5. What I'm seeing is teams that have a winning past, right? You know, and a big fan base. That's what I'm seeing off the bat. That's what I'm getting at. You know what I mean?
Broncos
and then you
have 4.
Right. So you're with Minnesota, the Giants, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Detroit, Houston. Oh, you guys have 3. Sorry. I'm seeing 3 right now, unless something changed, or maybe this is wrong.
Week 1, Kansas City. Week 3 against the Rams.
What is that game, though?
Week 6. Pardon me?
What's that game? What's the time slot?
Sunday Night Football.
Okay.
It doesn't get more prime time than Sunday Night Football.
No, I'm asking because I want to know where I'm wrong at, or where this coach is wrong.
And then Thursday Night Football against Seattle, which is on Amazon Prime. And then we have the Black Friday game on Amazon Prime against the Steelers.
They could have gave us that.
So
game.
that one of those games is not considered primetime. If one, that's I don't think one. I think one of those games is not considered primetime.
I'm assuming that they are negating the Black Friday game and not calling that primetime.
Yeah,
but I'm going to be honest here. Look, Black Friday is kind of a big thing. And a lot of people are not at work. A lot of people are going to be watching it, and the ratings are going to be huge. And it's on Amazon Prime. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, and frankly, as far as most of the internet is concerned, that's a primetime game. Like, it just is what it is.
Yeah. I just don't like the fact that I really don't. I mean, who am I, right? But I'm pissed that there are 5 teams with no primetime games.
And Biggie also, we also got Christmas Day, which is not deemed primetime. But again, let's be real. Like, Christmas Day games get enormous ratings.
Yeah, I'm kind of like
enormous.
As I'm getting older, I'm like getting upset about the Christmas and games and like they're adding to like the holidays. I'm like, so you're supposed to be spending time with family, but then sometimes family sucks. So then you got the game. So it's like it's a double-edged sword. You know what I mean?
But DZ, I have solved that problem.
What if family sucks and you have to watch the Broncos and you're a Raiders fan?
Well, you're hoping for their downfall. You're like,
that's a rough.
Here's the deal. You now know a Broncos fan, so you have a reason to cheer for them. And on top of that,
I'm sorry.
I have solved.
That's not how it works, Richie.
Sure it is.
No.
Sure it is. Or root against them, whichever you would like. It's fine.
There you go.
You can root one or the other. But DZ, I've solved the Christmas Day dilemma. My entire family is now Broncos fans, which means that it must be on TV when they're playing. And so, and then my dad's a Miami Dolphins fan, and so I just get to laugh.
I mean, yeah, they're going to be going through some growing pains. Definitely. I do like the direction they're going, but they're going to be going through some growing pains. That's for sure.
You get rid of your quarterback, your 2-star, both of your star wide receivers, and you start over from scratch. You don't know, what they got on defense. Yeah, it could be a rough patch, but then again, with the pieces they brought in, they could be one of those teams that go from, worst to first.
I wouldn't go that far, Raider Rebel.
I mean,
I see what you're saying. I get you.
I mean, Wilson, he looked all right as a quarterback. He doesn't have a lot of stars, but
I mean, they still got A-Chain there. He's damn dangerous.
You got a running game. I don't know, their offensive line, we'll see if that improves any. But their defense was off and on last year, and then you bring in a defensive-minded head coach, so it might. And then
you got to solidify your offensive scheme first.
Yeah, who's there? Is their head coach Halfley? Is that what he is? Anybody? I don't know.
Yeah, from the Packers.
Okay, so that's what I was double checking.
Yeah, so just real quick on the. I'll start with the Broncos preseason games. We start with the Falcons. We start with the Falcons, then we move to the Packers, and then we finish our third preseason game against the Vikings. Now, I want to just add a bit of a banner here. I've looked. We play not one of those teams at all during the season.
This is bullshit.
Not one.
Complete BS, dude.
Right?
Not one.
Who is doing the schedule, man?
Right?
And
are horrible.
And this is gonna really piss you off.
So,
Sean Payton, George Payton has basically like a drinking buddy relationship with the Vikings, because that's where he was with for the overwhelming majority of his career.
Oh, so that's his crew over there?
Yeah, so I mean, he basically goes and says, "We're doing this, let's do this," and they're like, "Yes," and then they have this agreement and whatnot. And so I'm almost certain that there's going to be a Vikings joint practice leading up to the preseason game. I am almost certain that there's going to be an exchanging of scripts between the two teams to ensure there's no injuries. I'm almost certain that there's going to be we're not going to hurt you, you're not going to hurt us kind of general look and feel.
I mean, you'd hope, right?
And
those games get chippy.
They do, but the thing is that there's such camaraderie and respect between Peyton and the Vikings organization that they wouldn't dream of ruining the pipeline between the two teams and whatnot. And then on top of that, I believe that the third preseason game is where the Broncos are going to be doing a lot of testing out of some of the primary offensive plays with the starters. And I also think that we're going to have almost the flip side of that, which is to really push some of these UDFAs that we think that might have some real potential for our team. I'm super excited, particularly.
It seems like blatant BS, dude. You're playing three teams
that you don't play during the season.
You don't play. I'm playing three freaking playoff teams essentially. We're playing in the preseason, and we're playing them during the season. So it's there's no secrecy. It's everybody starts familiar. We got freaking preseason film and on guys. Yeah. This is the first year this season, and look, that I've saw where I'm this is just blatant bias. Blatant bias. If you look at the schedule as a whole, I mean, whatever, maybe, scheduling stuff, because preseason, right, you still have concerts and BS going on in stadiums. So that's kind of why some teams play weird teams like that. So I'll overlook that, but I don't know. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, having to play three playoff teams in the preseason that you play, I think that's rough. I like it, but it's rough. I'm just saying.
I do agree. The Broncos have last year and the year before played one or two teams that we played in the regular season.
I feel that's always every year.
It's not.
That's what's supposed to be.
It's not unheard of to have happen. However, I will say to have all three of your preseason teams be teams that you play during the regular season, one of two things occurred there, in my opinion. One, the NFL has some splaining to do, or number two, your head coach asked for it.
No.
But look, you can say
we're not
no,
asking
but I'm
to
saying,
play the effing.
I'm saying one or the other. I'm saying one or the other.
The Texans have been in the bane of my existence these last couple of years. I do not want that defense is going to be absolutely filthy, disgusting, dangerous. Oh my goodness, Texans defense. If they're not number one, I'll chop off my pinky toe. I'm being serious. They look crazy. What would you call it? Raider Rebel, you know your 3 preseason games?
Yeah, it's the Cardinals, and then we got to go to Houston, and then the 49ers. So we played 49ers in the Bay, which will be, kind of a Bay Area reunion in San Francisco. But having to play them twice just doesn't make sense. And then the Cardinals, that doesn't make sense either. So I feel like they gave us an advantage because if you're looking at the schedule and we play the NFC West, if you look at Clint Kubiak, right, he was a Seattle coach.
Right. Makes sense. There you go.
He played the Rams twice in the regular season, once in the playoffs. Played the 49ers twice in the regular season, once in the playoffs. Played the Cardinals twice. So, I mean, that's a lot of film, and yes, every team evolves and changes over the next year, but you still get a pretty good grasp, of that division and what they're trying to do over there. And I think that gives us a big heads up in some games that people are overlooking. I mean, you already know what Sean McVay and what they're trying to do over there with the Rams. You played them 3 times, beat them twice. So, and same thing with the 49ers. So I think those games are going to be a lot closer than people expect. And then the Seattle game, as well. You were a coach over there, right? You know what Mike McDonald's thinking, what they're trying to do on defense, right? What they're trying to create. And then, he knows as well. But I'm sure you're looking at Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers, and man, what these guys can be in that system. So yeah, I think the schedule makers, I didn't understand it, but when I looked at that and I was like, man, we're playing every team that he played last year. Like that gives us a little bit of a jump, I think, on.
It would have been good if you were like in year 2 or year 3 of this regime. That would have been like, oh, okay, here we go. Now we got some, some gas.
But, a little bit of firepower.
Yeah.
But you never know. I mean, with this
you want to
team,
know my prediction? I think that your offense is going to be fielded as a vanilla offense when you play them.
Obviously.
However, I think what you're going to end up with is Kubiak is going to go to the defensive coordinator and basically level out all of his notes and just like lay it all on the table and say, kill them. Like I want them like demolished. So I actually think you're going to see some really interesting play from the Raiders in preseason. I'm only going to say to the Raiders fans on the show, it's preseason. You have a lot of advantages on the defensive side of the ball. I think Kubiak has got the cheat sheet to basically blow the doors off of your preseason opponents because of what you just said, Rebel, is that he's literally got like recency bias of like 3 games apiece for at least 2 of the opponents. and I think that is a really understated but very true advantage that the Raiders are going to have going into preseason. And I think that will allow your defense to just start teeing off and doing some interesting stuff to beat them. Now, I don't necessarily think that the stuff that he's going to use to beat those opponents will be the exact look and feel that you guys are going to be doing during the season. Yeah. But I do think that because he's got such familiarity with those offenses, just generally speaking, that he will send certain packages on your defensive side that'll just blow the doors off of them.
Yeah, and then we have, for the first time in a long time, we have 2 joint practices. So before we play the Houston Texans, 2 days before that on the 18th, they'll do a joint practice with Houston, and then somewhere down the line, the Carolina Panthers are.
So you already know you're going to have your joint practices?
Yeah. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we already got both joint practices lined up and the preseason. So we got five games before we even start, which is,
We were supposed to have one last year, but I think we had like a string of injuries, like always, but and they canceled it. But that's what I always missed. Like every year you had, because I look forward to the joint practices more than I did the preseason game in a lot of aspects, because it was more controlled for the starting offense and starting defense to give their looks. And usually, I mean, the Chargers did a good job of like letting everybody see it, and like it was all filmed and everything like that. But so yeah, that's pretty wild that you know that. Already.
So D said, do you want to hear something stupid?
Sure.
Sure.
So my Broncos this year are like, do you know what? We don't play any of our opponents in preseason. Not one. None. 0. But do you know what we're going to do? we're going to invite those two opponents that we play during the regular season, and we're going to have joint practices with them.
Maybe you guys already know joint practices. That's wild.
And I'm looking at that. I'm reading it up here, and I'm like, I realized weed is legal in Colorado, but you got to stop it. Like, you just got to stop it. Like, that is really dumb. Like, there is nothing smart about that. Like, zero. Like the Broncos got handed a gift, right? The Broncos got a gift. The gift is you don't play any of your opponents at all in the preseason, and you can literally leave it that way, right? And the Broncos said, no. We're going to completely change that whole thing up. We're going to bring in the 49ers and the Arizona Cardinals, two opponents that we play this year, and we're going to have joint practices with them. Because why not?
Yeah, why? That makes no sense.
I don't understand. Like you gotta that's short bus stupid. Like, that is dumb.
So I know the Chargers used especially when they moved to LA, they would play the Cowboys a lot because Cowboys camp is in Oxnard, so it's like right up the road or whatever. So they played them quite a bit. I haven't played them with this new regime, so I wonder if there's these new regimes just don't know each other, don't care, don't want to do that kind of stuff. Maybe is there any? I wonder if there's connections. There's got to be some sort of connections for the joint practices, between staff or something or other.
I don't know what connection that we have with Houston or Carolina. I don't.
The Chargers have not scheduled any joint practices for the 2026 preseason at all. Zero.
But I don't know if that's. I never remember them being advertised this early. That's why I'm really surprised that you guys have already found this out. I don't know.
Did you have joint practices last year?
They were supposed to. We've had them every year, with all bunch of different teams. It was a lot of the Saints, the Cowboys, like I said, the Rams, and we were supposed to have one because they would always fight. There's always fights, which is kind of fun.
Yeah,
so they were supposed to do the Rams last year, and there was I guess there was just too many injuries, and they canceled it. Harbaugh didn't say that, but McVay did. McVay was like, no, they're too banged up, so we're not doing joint practices, which makes sense. But
yeah, so we didn't do it with Antonio Pierce, and I don't believe they did it with Josh McDaniels in the building either. So last year we did one with the 49ers, which, usually those games a little bit telling, kind of because you get more of the starting units out there and more of the second team. But, we played pretty good against the 49ers, and then the season looked nothing like that. I don't know what the difference was or what happened.
If we did do joint practices, I'd like to do it against teams that we're not playing because they are installing a new offense this year. So I'd be like, it would be stupid to be like, oh, hey, this is what we're doing, and this is what we're going to be doing in the freaking season. You know what I mean? Kind of thing, but.
That makes sense. But, I mean, we got a new offense and a new head coach, new everything. So, yeah, I was surprised kind of that we were going to have joint practices as well and
anybody in the chat wants to look up if the Chiefs have joint practices, that'd be great because apparently.
Right? Yeah, where's the Chiefs fans? Yeah, because that's weird. I get
they don't have any either.
I kind of they're trying to not open the door or open the window for anybody to peek in and see what they got going on with their new fresh running backs and their Justin Fields quarterback.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is that I actually don't think that they want to open the door to anyone getting any insight on Mahomes' health. Yeah. I think that's what the real answer is that when you just keep things locked and kind of closed door sort of deal, you can really keep a lid on Mahomes and his health coming into the season and all that kind of stuff a lot better, which I think the Chiefs are wanting to keep it a bit of a mystery, as it were. How good is he going to be? Where's he at?
Brace on Richie.
Oh, his brace, man! The dude looked like a cyborg. And reminded me of a Terminator brace on his leg, right? It was the Gronk elbow brace equivalent, except on his knee. You know what I mean? It was brutal.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was brutal. Because if you remember, Gronk had all those elbow issues, right? Like he had like elbow issues galore, and he had that like exoskeleton that he used to wear on his arm there to help protect his elbow.
I'm a big fan of offensive linemen wearing those braces. I love it, but they just seems like they've gotten away from that. But I used to love it, like when all the college guys would have like I'm like, yeah, they're like armored up, dude. We're not gonna have any injuries.
Yeah.
Right. Better safe than sorry.
Yeah. It just seems like they've gone away from those ankle knee braces unless they really need them. I don't know.
You know, some guys wear too that haven't even had injuries. they just wear them to be safe.
Or like the helmet things. Like I think I saw like, you know, what are they called, the new helmet deals that they are putting over their they're like the soft ones. Have you guys seen now they have ones that look just like the helmet?
No, I haven't seen that. I just
Richie,
seen
have you?
We call them the helmet condoms because
so the helmet condoms that like were all bubbly, right? And they would like kind of resemble the team logo.
Oh, that's weird. I just literally re-looked up Broncos joint practices, and my previous searches just changed on me, and we are not having any joint practices at all.
Or you don't know yet. I think.
I literally just searched it on Broncos.com and it came up with the other stuff for 2026, and I literally just searched again. It's like, no, just kidding. So that's bizarre.
Look, we could just be, maybe the Raiders just have something special going on with this new regime, but I swear to you guys, like none of this is advertised until like camp tickets are sold. Then like all of a sudden, then that's like people can buy, you know, the fans can come into the camp and watch these teams come in and join practices and that whole thing.
They sell tickets and everything. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. But anyways, the helmet condoms, I saw there's like new ones that are like smooth and they look exactly like the helmet. You just look like freaking the dude from Spaceballs now. Yeah, I mean they're like these new kind now. I don't know. I'm not a fan of them, but if they help, whatever.
Yeah, anything you can do to keep players on the field and reduce the concussions, because they just seem to be coming an awful lot more lately.
Soft tissue and concussions, yeah.
But that makes sense though. Look at what they've done with the contact rules in the NFL. So the NFL has effectively eliminated anything around the shoulder now as a hit, because they're basically getting so stingy on the helmet-to-helmet contact rule, where they're not even making nuanced calls anymore. They're just basically calling any contact from the defensive player as helmet-to-helmet contact. And they're also basically eliminating what used to be deemed the strike zone. You know what I mean? Like that shoulder to kind of like stomach region that players would actually prefer to get hit. Like they want to get hit in that midsection so that their legs and their head are spared. But the problem is that the league is basically penalizing players for almost spearing guys, right? Because when players leave their feet, which is the proper way of hitting a guy in the midsection there to bring him down, the league is calling penalties on them. So you literally are between a rock and a hard place as a defensive player, only leaving the knees and ankles as the only targeting zone. And two things happen when you go really low and attack on a tackle on a guy. You end up with the whipping motion of the body. So you end up with your legs and then you whip down, and your head then becomes kind of the bobblehead when you hit the ground. And that'll generate a concussion more often than not. I know this because it's a very common thing in rugby, which is my sport. Basically football, just a little bit more psychotic. And then you also end up with a lot of lower soft tissue injuries and whatnot, because
Richie,
you get the guys with all these hard exoskeletons smashing knees and stuff, right? Like it's
one
brutal.
thing you left out though. It doesn't help that the league is getting away from playing on grass more and more. A lot of these teams are playing on freaking synthetic turf with concrete right underneath you, so that's not an ideal playing surface. I did see an article come out, I think, in the last couple of weeks, that they're like pushing more teams to go with grass, which I hope is the case.
My ownership is forcing it.
It should have already been a rule.
Turf shouldn't be a thing, but now everybody's trying to go with these controlled environments, right? So, like, what is it? Buffalo's got their new stadium. I think, is it debuting this year or next year? I'm not sure.
I think it's next year.
But it's just weird. Like, they're doing these indoor stadiums now, and I get it, man. Snow and betting has become so heavily involved, and they just want these perfect controlled games, which leaves out home field advantage, I feel like, in certain times of the year. And then once you go
how
indoor,
many snow games have been epic?
Right.
Epic.
I mean, they've been epic,
like,
and they've also been a hot mess at the same time.
I don't care. They are epic.
It's part of the NFL we know, right? Growing up, right?
Fans getting hypothermia and dying when they get home. Like, yeah, some of those games have been crazy.
I'm anti-turf. I think it's horrible. I think it's the worst surface you can play on, and SoFi plays on it. It's gross. Like what the Raiders did, super smart. Like with the Cardinals, where they have the retractable grass that comes out and goes back in. It makes too much sense.
Yeah,
way too much sense.
That's what the Raiders have too. You know, they can put it out there and get sunlight, and then when
they couldn't do that in LA, the best weather on planet Earth.
Yeah,
in Southern California,
you should be able to do that everywhere. Like, when the sun's out, you put it outside. Even in the wintertime, you're still getting sun as long as it's not freezing, and then you just reel it back in. So everybody pretty much has grass now that on those wheels. If you can have grass in a desert in Arizona and Vegas, there's no excuse for anybody.
Southern California, at the SoFi Stadium for the Rams and Chargers play on turf. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's only $2, Rod. Eat my taint.
Also, you
guys pay rent too, by the way. The Rams have to pay rent as well, even though it's technically your stadium.
Also, just real quick on the grass thing, the Broncos ownership group not only installed grass as their primary turf, they also increased a third rotation as part of their turf replacement. So most teams only replace their turf twice a year, whereas the Broncos have a 3 times a year rotation to ensure that the turf is pristine and safe to play on.
Yeah.
And some of these stadiums are just so bad. Like you look at their grass or even the turf, and I'm like, man, that's turf. Like, fix it, do something with it. So yeah, they just need to completely do away with that. I think it should be mandatory. No matter what they have to do, if they have to be able to roll it in or out, or open your roof so you can get sunlight to let it grow or whatever. There should.
SoFi has like a roof on it, but it's like still lets the elements through. Like I'm just like, dude, what the hell did they? I don't get it. Whatever.
The Raiders bring it in every game because they have other events it's constantly and I think they have two levels where they have like a court and a grass area, so they can just move them out, move them in as they need to. So yeah, I think everybody building new stadiums should have that set up. I think it should be.
I agree 100%. I agree. Like unless you're like certain areas,
that should be a standard. No, that should be a standard. Like there are water resistant grass options that you can get that will be totally okay on a football field. In addition to that, like if we're going to be totally honest, the NFL makes so much money, like each team and the NFL as a whole makes so much money that if they are serious, and I mean truly serious about player safety, then it should be mandated that every new stadium be a grass option or an only grass option for NFL, and that you must have a plan to have proper turf, period.
I honestly think it's all like quote unquote coach speak, because they're just going to keep upping the pay and they don't care. They say they care about everything else. It's all BS in my opinion. I don't think they care about player safety. I don't think they care about the fans. It's that green, man, that almighty dollar. They'll just keep paying players to shut them up. I mean, the NFLPA, like the dudes who are in it, who run it, they're a bunch of shills in my opinion. Like none of them are serious players. Like, nah.
Yeah, I feel like, you say you care about the players and you want to make it where the defenses can't tackle nobody. Like you can't, I mean, you have certain target areas. It's making it almost impossible for a defensive player to tackle somebody. So they're just trying to make, offense where people just want to come in and see shootouts, kind of like Rams games in Seattle where, it was 31-32 or, 28-27, right? They just
fantasy betting.
They don't. Yeah, it's all about fantasy and betting. They say they're about safety, safety and player safety. Then why do you still have turf on fields? It'd be a lot easier to take, in the off season. It would take nothing to come out there and rip that up and run sod. I know,
like MetLife,
plenty of crews that can come run that sod and do it in a day.
MetLife and
no problem whatsoever.
Are notorious for soft tissue injuries, just because there's no give, right? Like there's no give. You're planting, and in grass you got that little bit of give, right? But if you don't have that give, those tendons have nowhere to go. They're just like, and these guys are super athletic, like super athletes, right? Of course, every
year
they're
grab
faster and bigger. Go ahead.
You grab and
you also have the grab. You have the turf grab. So, like for example, when your cleats go down into the turf, the cleats will grab onto the turf itself and add additional strain as you're planting and moving. It's bad. Like it is bad. This is an interesting question, Rebel. This is from your channel. Bringing it over here, ranking the quarterbacks in our division. I think this is an interesting one.
Man.
Gotta. There's a few. So, are you talking all-time career, or are you talking as of today? Because those two things. Because those. So, if you're talking as of today, and not like their all-time career, Mahomes would have to be in the number 3 spot.
I think people need to realize that Mahomes hasn't been Mahomes for a few seasons.
Correct. Like it's been 3 seasons since Mahomes has actually been where he was at when he first came into the league.
They just know how to win. They know what to do. They like it's really weird. Like he has the accomplishments, right? Like they've got the trophy case. He could say, "Hey, that's all me," right? That's all. But his play style, which made him an elite, like high-end quarterback, that hasn't been what we've been seeing on the field for like at least, in my opinion, like 2 seasons. Like that's just not how he plays anymore because he doesn't have to, right? He doesn't have to play that way because they've been winning these games. That's the one thing that I really respect about the Chiefs. They know how to win. And their game will be super close. And then those last few minutes in the fourth quarter, boom. What do? Touchdown, field goal, walk it off, see you later, right?
And that's coaching. That's Andy Reid. That's the coaching staff, and that's the players and the mentality, right? But like if we're looking at winning percentage since coming into the league, Bo Nix is right up there with the best of them at this point, if we're going to be honest. I mean, he's made it to the playoffs.
Pretty good in the fourth quarter.
He's been awesome as a clutch quarterback. He's made it to the playoffs both years he's been in the league. He has got an insane winning percentage in terms of the NFL. Like he is at or above Mahomes' winning percentage level since coming into the league. The only difference is Mahomes won his Super Bowl in the second year. Bo Nix did not. But if we're going to be honest, though, interestingly enough, Bo Nix basically got the team into the AFC Championship game against the Patriots, and it is pretty, I'd say, like agreed upon consensus that if Bo Nix did not hurt himself, that there's a firm belief that the Broncos likely would have beaten the Patriots in that game, like just generally speaking, because May played like crap. Like Drake, he did not play well in that game at all.
I felt like the Patriots defense played way better than as advertised in the playoffs. I was really impressed by how they showed up.
But what Bo Nix has done in the playoffs, every game he's actually been in the playoffs, plus in the regular season, is he has played with that like clutch gene. Like basically, I hate to use this analogy because I absolutely hate him as a player, but I actually think that since he's retired, that it's dare I say I kind of like him on TV, is Tom Brady. Tom Brady, as much as you'd like to hate him, he had that clutch gene. When you knew when it got down to like the wire, there's very few quarterbacks that you would pick over Tom Brady on your team. Like, it is what it is. That dude knew how to win. He just knew
those
how
quarterbacks,
to win.
Richie. It's those quarterbacks. Like in that fourth quarter, they're not stressing. They're chill. They're relaxed. They know how to read defenses. Like I feel like if you can keep your body straight, and the longer you're in the league, and especially one system, the better, man. Because we just see how smart some of these, like Phillip Rivers, like dude, like how super smart he was, but he just always got bit in the fourth quarter. Poor guy, dude, freaking threw an interception up, trying to come back from behind or some crap. But it's just certain quarterbacks, man, are just, you see it in them. Like you're like, oh, this guy's got a killer mentality, especially late in games, which is easier said than done, man. It's not easy in this league.
Right. Having that mentality. I think Mendoza brings that to the Raiders, which we've been lacking for a long, long time. But if I had to pick that list, I don't know if we're going, like you said, if we're going coming to this year or last year, but if we're going all time, it's definitely Mahomes. But like you said, I've talked about it on my channel. I feel like Mahomes is, you can't be Superman forever, right? And teams are going to start to catch on that as long as you can get pressure on the man and keep him contained, then his completion ratio has went down, his interceptions have went up. You're losing your number one, tight end that was your security blanket for many, many years, and Travis Kelce. So yeah, I think Mahomes, have to be probably second or third on this list. And if you're looking at it right now, I think Bo Nix is probably there. And I don't know where to put Kirk Cousins in this, because I mean, if you look at playoff wins, he does have one more than Herbert. he does have one more than
Kirko Chains.
He doesn't have more than Bo Nix. So yeah, I don't know. Probably Kirk Cousins has to be third or fourth on this list. I think right now it's probably and then you look at the Chargers, getting an offensive coordinator. I think that's going to unleash Herbert. So I'd probably go Bo Nix, Herbert, Mahomes, and Cousins.
That's kind of where I'm thinking coming into this year. However, I think that by the end of this year, we're going to see a bit of a resorting of that list again.
All I ask is for an average offensive line.
Yeah, because Mendoza is going to be at the top of it.
Well, Mendoza, I don't think is going to play enough games to have unless he absolutely blows the doors off in preseason. Where basically, let's put it this way, Rebel, you have an option or an opportunity here, I suppose, is maybe the better way of looking at it, which is Mendoza could pull a bit of a Russell Wilson in Seattle kind of move and basically look so damn good in preseason that it's just one of those things where it's like, we can't not play him because we think that it'll actually hinder his development. And that's a possibility. I'm not even saying it's not a possibility. I'm saying it's a legitimate possibility. And at that point there, you could have a very interesting season ahead of you where you'll end up with the rookie quirks, because trust me, they exist. They're a thing. It is a real thing where you see some plays, you're like, yeah, that's my guy. And then you see other plays, like a couple plays later, you're like, dude, what were you thinking?
Right.
And it happens all the time. Bo Nix had a bunch of them. Like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, they all had like those, like, are you kidding me sort of plays. But at the end of the day, they had more plays where you're like, and that's why we drafted you. And that's what you ultimately want to see from your guy in Mendoza. You want to see those plays that put him in a position where you say, and that's why we drafted him.
I'm sure the Raiders will get a chance in preseason. They'll see their kid. They'll see him out there for like a couple drives, every game. Whether him or Kirko start, who knows? I mean, it could be Kirk is just brought in to back him up, when he struggles or whatever. I don't know. I don't think Kubiak is going in there trying to lay down, right? I do think that they really want to try to develop Fernando. So who knows? They might go out there, compete day one, man, ready to rock and roll. And, whatever happens is gravy, right? With this new team, like there's no rule saying like, hey, you're going to just lose every other game, kind of thing. And we'll see. But, getting back to the schedule real quick, that has to tie into that. I think all of us knew looking into the 26th year, what we knew ahead of time was our opponents, right? We knew that like, oh wow, we have a tough schedule, opponent wise. And then when we got the schedule out, like I didn't really see the Raiders first few games, but I did see the Broncos like first 6 games is freaking brutal. Like that, like very well. Like the Raiders, the Broncos could go 1-5 or something like, but I don't see that happening, but it's a gauntlet, right? I see my team, right? Like I've seen all the, the analysts and statisticians have come out, but I'm not happy like at all. I think the league is actively, unless they just like forgot about the Chargers, which very much could have done that. They've done something like really screwed to my team, and it's negative 24 days of net rest that they're going against teams. That means that they're playing teams with 24 more days of rest throughout this whole season. That's 17 games. That's the largest since 2000, I think. We're playing 4 teams off a bye. Only Philly is playing the same amount. Only one season. I've got notes right here. We've only had one season in the last 7 seasons where we've had an advantage in rest. So 6 out of those seasons, we've had a disadvantage in rest. And then we're playing 7 games this season. 7 games are coming at a rest disadvantage. This is the worst in franchise history. The Chargers have been in the franchise since 1960. So this is the worst rest that they'll be facing, like positive, negative. I know it's kind of like a word jumble, but since 1960. And I'm like, and then 3 primetime games, which usually they've been hovering around 4 to 5, especially in this Harbaugh regime. I'm not stoked at all, man. And we've all seen who's on our schedule, right? It's the NFC West, AFC North, right? We got AFC North, and then the AFC South is thrown in there. And the AFC South are no joke anymore. What they were a few years ago. They're legit now. So yeah,
we don't have the AFC North.
I'm playing the Ravens this year. We're playing the Ravens.
Yeah, but we don't have the North. It's just have whoever first place.
Never mind. We didn't go through the whole, everybody's team.
Yeah.
But I'm just like opponent wise, it's brutal. Like this is freaking a gauntlet, dude.
Yeah, that's rough.
That's
absolutely rough.
Now I will say though, DZ, you and I have had multiple conversations, both on camera and off camera, on the same topic. The AFC North, in my opinion, is the one division that is kind of like the kryptonite to the AFC West in some regards. And what I mean by this, by that is the AFC West starts off the year with like warm weather and that sort of thing, so you can kind of do things a certain way. The AFC North are basically my people. Like those are my folks. Like we
cold weather folks.
Oh yeah. Like we're talking I don't know if you've been on the show when I've given you the temperatures up here in like February, but you'll get cold just hearing them.
It makes my bones hurt. It makes my 51-year-old bones hurt.
Yeah. So it is not unheard of for me to be into like the minus 20 in Fahrenheit here, like no problem.
No.
Which like is most people just say no to that, and I'm like I actually last year I did not wear a winter coat.
thanks.
To put
No
that in
thanks.
perspective.
No thanks.
It's 50 degrees outside, and I'm bundled up like an abominable snowman.
Yeah. So I have a winter vest kind of thing that I wear and a sweater, and that's it. That's pretty much that's it. So, but that's what I'm talking about, though, right? Is that everyone has a different.
But if you had to work outside, it would be a different story, right? Though, like obviously, you'd have to be layered up like crazy.
When I shovel the driveway, I wear the same thing. I wear a vest and a sweater.
Well, you're sweating. I get what you're doing. Like you want to be comfortable and be able to move around. But if
look, I will be honest. I have purposefully acclimated my body to wicked cold. I did it on purpose. I did it with purpose, and I did it on purpose because I knew that there's going to be a whack of times where I'm going to have to go outside and it's stupid cold and all that kind of stuff. And I knew where I lived and all that sort of stuff that I may not always have the right clothing for the weather. And I didn't want to be the person that got sick just because I was outside. So when I was in my teens, I would go outside in shorts and a t-shirt in the middle of winter regularly to adjust my body to super cold temperatures on purpose, so that when I got to be older, I'm no longer in my 20s, obviously, I'm in my 40s, where I said, hey, I want to make sure that I can adjust to the weather outside because it's fracking cold here. I get a truckload of snow. I mean, DZ and Nabman have seen the front of my house here where I live in the winter.
Ice storm, dude.
And that ice storm was hilarious. Like the comments I got on that were great. But the point is that it is a different kind of weather up here. The AFC North deals with a lot of the same type of weather, as does Buffalo, by the way. Buffalo gets a truckload of snow too. And it's very, very important that you have a certain style of player when you're dealing in cold weather.
What do they call it? They call it the black and blue division or whatever. Was that what?
Right. Because you got to look at how that is the division that has those massive bodied interior nose tackle, prototypical nose tackle types. Those are the dudes that are 6'4" and 350, and you're just oh, you've had a few cheeseburgers in your day, have you? And
it's gonna be weird. I'm really intrigued to see how that division shakes out, man. I'm not as high on them this year as I haven't been in the past with them. I'm not saying that they're not going to be good. I still think they're super high end teams, right? But I'm not as high on them. I think like I mentioned the AFC South. I think the AFC South, Houston, Jacksonville, Indianapolis, big Indianapolis getting Daniel Jones back. Tennessee Titans, we'll see what they do. Didn't they finish pretty strong, if I'm not mistaken, last year?
Titans finished strong, started weak though.
Right with the rookie. But that's a division I'm high on. I mean, Houston, God, I get PTSD thinking about their defense. We'll see with them. I'm not that high on Pittsburgh, dude. And then I kind of been intrigued by Cleveland a little bit. And then we'll see with all the resources that Cincinnati pumped into their defense and I think it was defense and offensive line that they're trying to help out. And we'll see Burrow. I mean, Burrow has been banged up, injured last 3 seasons or whatever it is.
Can't stay healthy.
Yeah, he fought for his wide receivers and then forgot that he needed an offensive line to actually keep him upright and not hurt. You know what I mean? He's give me all the guys that I like, wide receiver.
Good point, Matt. 3 new coaches in that division as well. Great point. Jesse Minter,
great point.
Our defensive
by the way, I saw Ed Winchell in here, longtime fan of the show, been following us for years. Ed, dude, big fan of you and the comments you make here. You bring a wisdom to the chat, even if you are a Raiders fan. And look, Raiders fans have been trying to convert me to be a Raiders fan for I've lost count the number of years now, but always get along with Ed and Matt as well. He's been kind of lingering throughout a lot of the shows that I've been in here. I've been on Captain Jack's channel a whole bunch too, so I appreciate you guys joining us here this evening. Real quick on the schedule. DZ, you mentioned the gauntlet that starts the Broncos schedule. I just want to quickly.
Is it first 6 or 7 games?
Well, I mean 7 really, but we'll 6. We'll go over them. We have Chiefs, Jaguars, Rams, 49ers, Chargers, Seahawks. Those are the first 6 games.
Let's go.
That warms right around the start. His black heart just got warm and toasty.
Yeah.
Seeing that.
Let's go.
Yeah. So, I mean, needless to say, all 6 of those teams were pretty damn good last year, with the exception of the Chiefs, which is kind of weird to say, right? Because we're so used to the Chiefs in the last little bit, recency bias and whatnot. They've been like perennial playoff team, right? Like Super Bowl or you know, whatever. But the Chiefs were not all that good last year. They did not play very well. Now, in fairness, Mahomes got hurt, and when you lose your starting quarterback, it takes a special kind of team to really bounce back and be okay with that. You know, but when you look at what's happened, what's happening rather to the Broncos, I think the Broncos will be able to beat the Chiefs week 1. I think that'll be something that the Broncos will be able to do.
Where's that game at? In Denver or in Kansas City?
It is. I want to say it's in Denver, but I might be wrong.
Broncos get a real schedule this year.
In Denver. That's at Kansas City, right? Kansas City versus Denver.
It's at KC.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's yeah. You're gonna be on your A game right out the gates.
No, but this is the kicker. The Broncos have typically beaten the Chiefs more often than not at Arrowhead. Like that's been the MO between the two teams. Like when the Broncos have beaten the Chiefs, it's been at Arrowhead more often than not. And so I actually think that is an interesting piece. I also think the Broncos defense, if I'm going to be honest, I think the Broncos defense is going to continue to be
really well. Yeah, I don't think
they're going to be pretty damn good. Is really the short answer on that.
I mean, you probably only lost, I think, maybe 2-3 starters, but then you filled them with DJ Jones, JFM, and then the safety linebacker, the guy that he really wasn't a factor because he was always injured. Didn't you guys? Isn't he gone as well?
PJ Locke, we let walk.
The guy from the Niners.
49ers. What? Yeah, I know.
No, he was an inside linebacker, but he never played. That was Dre Greenlaw.
Dre Greenlaw.
No.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah,
Greenlaw from the 49ers. Yeah.
Greenlaw was from the 49ers. We let him walk, but then we brought in a couple other linebackers, a UDFA guy, and there's 2 UDFA linebackers again this year that I'm like we brought in Red Murdoch, who I really like. We brought in Torian York, who I'm not as high on as the rest of Broncos country, but I know a lot of other folks really like him as a player.
I like Terry in York. I had him as a guy that I would have drafted for the Raiders.
But the guy that I really like is Dasan McCullough, who is a connection to Sean Payton, who's an outside backer, but I really like him as a coverage inside linebacker who's like 6'4" and like 240 pounds. I see him as that like dark horse like guy that can kind of do that like sideline to sideline thing due to his athleticism. We also have a guy in Jonah Ellis, who I think is going to kind of play that role a little bit for us as well. Jonah Ellis has been a phenomenal run stopper at the outside linebacker position, but the Broncos have already said that they're going to bring him inside on a bunch of snaps because the Broncos have such a deep outside linebacker room that they can't bring him on the field. There's just not enough space to kind of bring him into the rotation enough. And so they're going to bring him in at inside backer to get him on the field more. Again, these are nice problems to have when you end up with this depth and rotation that comes in to kind of build like a churning culture where you have to have competition to make the field.
Yeah.
Every team wants exactly that problem. Like every single team
We've
wants
been
that
dying
problem.
for that here.
Yeah. So anyways, but 6 games gauntlet starting the season for my Denver Broncos. There's going to be some really, really interesting defensive players. I think they're going to make the roster. The Broncos also have some very difficult choices to make next season because we start to get into, this is Bo Nix's 3rd season. He's coming into his 4th season where the Broncos could start thinking about an extension to get him extended early, et cetera, et cetera. Call it his 5th-year option, et cetera, et cetera. So again, we have some interesting choices ahead of us in Broncos country, but the first 6 games are a gauntlet. We could easily go like,
what's your bye?
Our bye is week 10.
Ooh, okay.
Which is a nice like late mid bye for the team, which is ideal in my opinion. That later bye week.
Yeah, I was hoping for a slightly later one than what we had. I think we have like a week 7 or something.
But so yeah, our bye week is just after the Panthers game. So we don't play. So we go from November 8th to November 22nd. So our bye week is right between the. Actually, Raider Rebel. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we play you off of our bye week.
Yes, you are the Chargers. One of let me see.
November 22nd. If I'm doing my math right, I think that's the week after our bye week. I'm doing my math right here.
Yeah, that's the first time we play you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's the first time we play. It's brutal, man. They for being the worst team in the NFL and being in the top 3 2 years in a row. Our schedule is absolutely just it's dreadful, man. Like if you look at it, you're like, really, this team has to come out and just be what I think they could be, 100% different than last year. We have players on the roster that just the coaching has been very, very bad. You haven't put players in the right position. You're moving guys around, putting them out of position. I think this year with everybody in the right position, Max Crosby finally has guys like Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker behind him. You bring back Eric Stokes. This defense is going to shock a lot of people. Robbie Leonard is going to blitz a lot. They say our base defense is going to be a 3-4, which tells me we're going to be in a whole bunch of different, different formations and changing everything up. They're probably going to be, in a 4-2-5 and, everything you could think of, right? 5-1-5, right? It's going to be crazy. So I think they're going to run a lot of press man. I think we have, the roster to do that with Stokes, and you get Gerard McCoy in the 4th round. All signs are pointing it's a go. He's out there. He's running drills. He's looking like he's going to play this season. So I think
if that guy works out, could be the steal of the freaking draft.
That changes everything for this defense. And then you got, Darian Porter going into his 2nd year. So I feel like this defense is going to surprise some people. Rob Leonard is the guy that was with Mike McDaniel, right? Or Mike McDonald, right? He's also a guy that, was with around the Vikings guy. I can't think of his name right now, but he's been around. He's been around top defensive guys everywhere he's went. Patrick Graham, I believe even.
Oh, do you mean Zimmer?
No, the Vikings defensive coordinator. What's I can't think of his name. But yeah, so he, the guys that he's worked with and been around are top defensive coaches. So he's going to have, he was at the Ravens with Mike, with
Flores, Brian Flores.
Yeah, Brian Flores. So he's seen a Brian Flores system. He's seen a Patrick Graham system. He's seen a Mike McDonald system. Those are all systems where safeties play a big role. Your defensive backs play a big role. Your linebackers play a huge role. So. This defense is going to be a lot
like
different.
The Ravens and what the Chargers adopted. It's what the Seahawks. It's Kyle Hamilton, Derwin James kind of style.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we got. We went and got, a guy like Stukes and Dalton, and
we're going to be running very similar schemes. Your Chargers are going to run a wide zone scheme. Raiders running wide zone schemes. They can look completely different personnel.
Yes.
And then you're going to 3-4. We're in a 3-4 base as well. Call it that, but that's just your base.
That's your base. You'll be in 30% of the time, if that. So that was the big thing in Raider Nation is, we need a defensive tackle. We're going to a 3-4. But do you really draft a defensive tackle in the second round if you're going to play, if you're going to be in a base defense, less than 30% of the time? I just don't see that big of a need. So I like where they drafted Cleveland in the 7th round. We brought in a whole bunch of UDFAs that I really feel like a lot of them, some make the squad. I have 3 that could possibly, make the 53, and then 4 or 5 that could probably make this practice squad. So they brought in, some decent talent that wise. They brought in Chase Roberts, wide receiver from BYU, solid physical guy, runs good routes, great hands. They brought in Tanner Wall, which is, a pretty solid safety, great ball skills. Seems like he's just always around the ball. It just always seems to fall in his lap. So, they got some guys that are going to push some of the guys that we have. And every time,
who are you most excited for? Your free agent additions or your rookie class?
That's tough because the Raiders have needed linebackers for a long time, and you bring in 2 guys that
with recognizable names.
Yeah, with recognizable names that we haven't had that for a long time, except for Robert Spillane, which I think he became recognizable, as a Raiders linebacker. But you bring in Nakobe Dean that has a problem staying healthy. Quay Walker, same thing. You got availability is the best ability. So if these guys can stay healthy, which we had that problem with Eric Stokes. He was in Green Bay, couldn't play a full season. He came to the Raiders. He played a full year. So we have a great training staff, a great facility, right? Great everything. So I think health-wise, we've been way healthier than we have in the past. So, you get a guy like McCoy, and then, so it's hard to say. We brought in a lot of free agents that are going to help. You brought in Jalen Naylor, that I think is – a guy that's
my sleeper, man. Like for you guys, I love that addition for the Raiders.
I agree.
Like he's not because he was just be on the pecking order. Like he's like my Kolar, like tight end reference, but that was like him in the wide receiver room for Minnesota, and he's going to go to a better situation. Yeah. Well, better quarterback situation. Let's just
definitely
say
better quarterback situation. Whether it's Aiden O'Connell, Fernando, or Kirk Cousins, it's a better quarterback situation than what they had over there last year. So they played 3 different quarterbacks. So Max Brosmeyer and what I mean, like and JJ McCarthy. So they didn't have a lot of help over there. And what I've been saying on my channel, about Jalen Naylor is he was their 3rd or 4th guy over there, right? And he still had 444 yards on like 29 catches, I think. So you put him in a Clint Kubiak system where, he's gonna scheme up ways to get him open. He's gonna use leverage, right? He's gonna use Brock Bowers being doubled, having to stack the box against Ashton Genty. And the Raiders have a lot of pieces that they haven't had in a long time. So the free agency, like I said, it was great. You bring in Tyler Linderbaum, Jalen Naylor. You also have Tariq Young, who the little birdie in my ear, that I have at practice is saying, don't be surprised if he makes this team and ends up, being a receiver, not just a kick returner or a punt returner that they brought him in to be. So, he's out there making plays. They have a nice young receiving core with a lot of speed, right? You have Trey Tucker, with speed. So then you bring in the rookies and you look at, the rookie class last year and the rookie class this year. They didn't get to play a lot last year, so we don't know what we have in any of the rookies really last year. So that's kind of like their rookie class coming out. For a lot of them, they're probably going to get on the grass for the first time. So it's hard to say. I think the Raiders they're heading in a totally different direction for the first time in a long time. We actually spent money in free agency and filled needs, right? You didn't just go out and spend money just to spend money and, get a wide receiver when you have Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers in the building, right? Yeah. We're not doing stupid stuff like we've done in the past. So I'm really, really impressed with Spytek and what he did in free agency and then the draft, right? You get your quarterback number 1, which could be. So a lot of people are saying the next Tom Brady, right, with just his work ethic and his mentality and the way he spins the rock and to look in camp, he looks like he's been taking plays under center his whole entire life. It doesn't look like he's ever went out there and never done
just stayed in shotgun. You mean?
Yeah, just being in shotgun, his whole career. But it looks like he's done it his whole life. His footwork, everything so far from what I've seen in OTAs are. Way ahead of what everybody thought. Our coaches, nothing but praise. So yeah, great rookie class. You bring in, Traden Stokes, who some people have said, they had a first round grade on Traden Stokes. Others, have said, at least 4 or 5 picks right after the first round. So not only do you get that guy, but you move back 2 picks and then you jump up 25 picks into the next round. You get the guy you want in Traden Stokes, and then you get the guy you want in Trey Zune. So I think the Raiders had a really, really solid draft. And then you move up 1 pick and you steal Gerard McCoy, because that's an absolute steal. If he's healthy, you get the best corner in the draft, right, for a 4th round pick. And then you get Mike Washington, a guy to take some of the load off of.
I was going to ask you about him. I think your running back room is still, working that to fill that out, because I think there's also rumors that Najee Harris is a potential signing to fill out you guys' running back room, who I don't want that to happen, even though he's coming off that injury, because that guy that's his only injury he's ever been injured with, and like the guys.
You mean Cyclops?
Yeah, the firework injury.
Oh, okay.
Now, so
I don't think they bring in a veteran, because I'm just looking at this roster. Mike Washington, I'm an Arkansas Razorbacks fan, obviously, but bringing in a guy like Mike Washington, then you have Roman Hemby, and you still have Dylan Labe in the building, who just never really got.
I was really high on Labe, but
he's a guy that can catch out of the backfield. He has great hands. He's quick, he's physical, he can help on special teams. So it just doesn't make sense to bring in a veteran when you have, a veteran coach, a veteran offensive line coach, right? Veteran running back coach. So it just doesn't make sense.
But you need, who's your best pass blocking running back?
It's probably Ashton Genty, and
that's not a good thing. I'll be honest.
He looked pretty solid last year. I mean, he did a damn good job when he was asked to. So, going into a second year,
I feel like if you guys have the opportunity to bring in, you can keep one of those guys on your practice roster. And you most likely they're not going to get poached. I think if you bring in, you can bring in a vet that can pass block and understand stuff like that, would be massive, especially.
So I have a wild idea.
Well, they brought in Connor Hayward also, tight end slash fullback. So I think that's actually, you kind of hinted at where I was going to go, Rebel. I actually think that the Raiders move here isn't going to go for a veteran in the running back room per se. I think that their best bet is to bring in a veteran fullback into their roster for the outside zone style, which, by the way, is a Kubiak special, because it's a Shanahan special, and the two are very much linked in terms of style and approach and all that kind of stuff.
I would hope this fullback is like a pass-catching guy, and he's like a jack of all trades.
It's a pass-catching, pass-blocking kind of combo platter sort of dude. So you think of like USAC.
You're kind of showing your hand every play.
You are, but the thing is that the fullback in that role is often also used as a, like, we'll call it the pass catching tight end role, as well as sometimes a slot combo kind of wide out sort of role as well, if you're used in a proper way. And frankly, it pains me to say it, but Kubiak will use the guy properly because his dad also used the guy properly.
I'll tell you, you should know all about this scheme, being a Broncos fan with Gary Kubiak.
Yeah, so I know Gary's scheme. Now, Rebel, just as an aside, the one thing that Gary had an issue with, Clint, I think, has modernized it a little bit, so I think you're somewhat protected. But this is his first time as a head coach, so this is a little bit of an ebb and flow for him. You know what I mean? But in the Kubiak version or flavor, as it were, of what is effectively the Shanahan offense, which is like, just be real. That's exactly what you're dealing with here, which is basically look at the 49ers right now with Shanahan, as in like Junior over there with the 49ers. And then modernize the offense a little bit to kind of make it more of a Clint Kubiak style. The one problem that you're going to end up with is your offensive line needs to be pretty much perfect. And the reason why that's an issue is if you have a weak link on the offensive line, because there's movement on the offensive line in order to make it work, if their technique is not absolutely on point every single play 100% of the time, that ends up becoming a laneway right through your offensive line to your quarterback.
Facts.
and you can get destroyed.
And
I mean like done
all year
and
last year.
Yeah. And so I mean, you saw that already last year with your team, because obviously the Carrolls attempted to run the same thing and they just didn't know what they were doing. Like it's clear they had no clue what they were doing whatsoever.
Right.
But I did see it even in our Super Bowl 50 season with Gary Kubiak. There, basically, if you have an offensive lineman who's lighter, like as in physically lighter, not as power style heavy, they can get pushed off the ball and end up with an aggressive team basically pushing them out of the way. So as an example, I'm thinking of the AFC North. So think of the Steelers, the Ravens, the Cleveland Browns, the Detroit Lions. Like, I'm just giving you like a list of kind of teams that kind of play that brand of football. Those types of guys and those types of teams will get that push right up the middle of your offensive line as you're trying to move, and they'll kill you if you don't have strong enough dudes to hold their own. Like, they will make you look like rag dolls, and it will not be fun to watch. You're going to get real pissed real quick. I watched it with Gary Kubiak, so I'm literally just foreshadowing.
Right.
I was angry back in 2015. You have the potential to be angry in 2026 when you see that kind of stuff.
We've been angry for a long time as Raider fans.
Yeah. but the thing is, you see success and then you see like the chinks in the armor.
Yeah.
And it just kind of worries you, because you would hope that as a football coach that is at that tier in terms of caliber, that they would recognize it.
Yes.
And
yes,
that's what frustrated me as a fanalist watching it.
Yeah, I think Rick Dennison, hopefully he'll have that situation wrapped up. I think his run games everywhere he went has been solid. Pretty much they've been in the top 10 everywhere he's been as offensive line coach, even back to Minnesota. And I think Rick Dennison brings something different. I read an article on my channel yesterday where he brings like the show 100,000 Pyramid, or you remember that show back in the day, the trivia show or whatever, the game show. So he brings in tries to do trivia to keep these guys focused on their game plan and in the game rooms. So just a different kind of learning and teaching, right? You ask guys questions, and he's one of those guys that's so prepared that I was reading an article that said in 2019 all the offensive linemen said that after practice that he's so focused into watching everybody and what they do and to help trying to make people better, that by the time they would end practice, they'd have an hour to go wash up or do whatever they had to do, but within that hour they'd come back and Rick Dennison would have a written report of every single offensive lineman, what they did wrong, and how to fix it. So that I think is going to be huge for this offensive line, because we have a lot of young players, right? If you look at it, it's basically Colton Miller, 25-year-old Tyler Lindenbaum, and then Buford and Meredith. So those are pretty much the vets in the building. So I feel like this offensive line is definitely going to surprise some people. I think we have the pieces, we just haven't had the coaching. And when once you marry those two, I feel like it's going to be a different team. I think we're going to get a way different team than what we got in the past.
I agree with that too. I think that you're still going to wait and see who fits and who doesn't. Some guys you think are going to fit will not. Some guys that you were surprised fit will, and you're going to go through that ebb and flow process. And you hope this is the big kicker as well. You hope that your first time but you hope that your first time head coach makes decisive decisions when it comes to player and personnel. So you had the exact opposite last year, right? Where you had dudes that were on the field for way too long, even when you were out of the playoffs. Like at that point there, you want to see all your young rookies. You want to see what talent you have on the roster. You want to see how they fit, what they can do. Why weren't you playing them before? All that kind of stuff, right? And so you hope that you have a head coach that is a little bit more decisive in his decision making and assessment, and makes the right judgment calls to ensure that the right guys are on the field at the right times.
Yeah, I feel like Kubiak does that. He's one of those guys that so far from what we've got out of camp is all the players they've interviewed and asked says he's a no-nonsense guy. He's very direct. The practices are very direct. They're short, right? Kubiak has went so far to say they asked him about, they did the little skit, whatever, for the schedule release, right? And somebody asked him, one of the reporters was like, "Oh, Fernando Mendoza, he looks like he could be an actor, working on that skills." And he said, he's like, I prefer him to focus on football. Like, no smile, no nothing, right? So he's got a kind of a sense of humor where you have to laugh, but he don't have to laugh. He's straight faced, poker faced. And then somebody asked, about, was it his idea that before practice, I guess everybody meets up, how they do before the game, try to bump everybody up, your captains say whatever for the offense, defense, says whatever for the defense. But they asked him, was it his idea to have everybody, group up and get together and kind of huddle up and have that little powwow, before? And he said, yeah, but all the dabbing up and high five and all that, he said that was 2 minutes out of practice that I could, not have to deal with. So he's, he's talking about 2 minutes, bro, 2 minutes. So
it is important. You're installing a whole new regime, whole new offense, everything. And I think per NFLPA, you only get a certain amount of time on the field with these players. So he's like, no BS, guys. Like,
no handshakes, no high fiving, no acting.
You can do that in the locker room. Come out, it's work time.
He's definitely all business, and and has a vision. And I think the problem with the Raiders is we've had a general manager that had his vision, right? We had minority owners and owners that had their vision. We had other people that were running things in the building that shouldn't have been running things that had their vision, and then a head coach that had his vision but didn't have the authority to see his vision through. You know what I mean? And now I think everybody sees the vision. They all are on the same page. They all focused, and they all have the same vision in mind. And it's just a matter of time before everything comes together, I think.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you guys. We have a division in the AFC East that is going to be rolling through town for all of us. The Patriots obviously made it to the Super Bowl. Did not do well, but made it to the Super Bowl nonetheless.
I'm glad
we got the Dolphins. We got the Dolphins. We got the Jets, and we got the Bills. Now the Bills have kind of got that monkey to get off their back after losing to the Broncos in the playoffs there. But I am curious as to your collective opinion. I'm going to save mine for the end. I already have mine formulated on the division. What are your thoughts on that division since we all play them? Are you seeing that as a real tough gauntlet within the division? Are you seeing that as a 50% gauntlet within the division, like between the Bills and say the Patriots? Or are you just kind of not really worried about that division overall because you think we have bigger fish to fry?
I'm definitely worried about the Bills and the Patriots. They both got better in this offseason. And then you have the Jets and Dolphins, right? Like, I don't know about the Jets. Jets have got a plethora of young talent. we'll see what that means. I don't know. Those are games that you can't sleep on. You can't slip up, right? And I feel like every year my team slips up on a team. So it could be the Jets, could be the Dolphins. I hope it's not any of those. That'd be embarrassing. But I do know historically my Bullets don't play really well in Florida. They do and they don't. It's like this ebb and flow. But I'm excited to play both teams, to be honest with you. I want payback against the Patriots. I thought that they faked their way to a Super Bowl, and I'm glad they got embarrassed in that Super Bowl. But I felt like they made really good. Their defense played really well. Like it just so happened that when we played them, that was the healthiest they'd been in like half a season, or it was like 6 weeks or whatever it was. And their defense played really well, especially with our banged up O-line. They smelled blood in the water. We talked about this before. That's what Houston did. Like games start out like this, they feel each other out, and they're like, "Oh," the D coordinator is like, "Hey, dude, they can't block this side. Tee off right here." You know what I mean? That's what I felt like the Patriots got. But I want payback on them. And the Bills, from what everybody's saying, from the outside looking in, I felt like they got better. Now, let's see. We're at Buffalo, and then we have prime time against the Patriots are in LA on, I think that's Sunday night. That'd be a nice game. But
do you play that whole? Do both of you guys play that whole division?
Yeah, I think we all do.
We all do.
All right, I was making sure.
But
we all do.
Yeah, so we get Miami. We get Miami first, which that really shouldn't be too much of a game. I think we have better coaching in the building. Better stars in Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty.
I think you win that game, no problem.
Yeah, I don't think the Dolphins is a big struggle. And then we play, week 5 we got the Patriots and then the Bills back to back. So that's going to be rough for us. But I do believe the Bills and the Patriots, I want to say, play before we play them. Patriots play in week 4.
Oh yeah, you got them week 5 and 6.
Yeah, so Patriots play in week 4, the Buffalo Bills. So we get film on both of them playing each other, which will help before we have to play both of them. So I think we have a bunch of little quirky innuendos that kind of help us out. You get a nice game film on the Patriots and what they're trying to do against the Bills, and whichever team wins, right? You get to see how they did it, how they went about it. So I think that helps us. But yeah, the Broncos are the Patriots and then the Bills is going to be rough. And then we got the Rams after that, and then the Jets. So we play them all by November. We have that whole division wrapped up and done.
Yeah, so I think the Jets are going to be a slightly tougher team than we think they're going to be. But I do believe that most of our division, with the exception of the Chiefs, will beat them. I think the Raiders will likely beat the Jets, or it'll be like one of those, like, if you don't beat the Jets, Rebel, I think it'll be one of those like field goal wins it sort of games. Like it'll be like kind of one of those sorts of things. Like they got the last possession because like a fumble happened or an interception or whatever. I do think you guys beat the Dolphins. I think the Broncos beat both the Jets and the Dolphins, and I think the Chargers beat the Jets and the Dolphins. I think that the Chargers are just like they're just in a really good spot right now overall as a team. They have consistency and they kind of know where they're going. The kicker with the Chargers is that they've struggled and still are coming off the back end of it, of both tackles coming off of major injuries. Yep. They've brought in O-line help in the offseason, which is great. They've recognized the problem, which is good on them for saying, yes, that was the problem, and hold my beer, I got a solution to it. So good on you. I think that was a very wise decision. By the way, hated that as a Broncos fan, but respected it at the same time because it shows a self-awareness as a team. But But I think the Chargers are in generally a good spot. I think they have some good backup talent. They've got a good pipeline now within their offensive line at the tackle positions and guard
this
spots.
is year 3 of the regime. This is year 3 of the regime.
Right.
I think they were snake bitten due to offensive line and offensive scheme.
Yep.
So they got, but so who's to say the grass is greener on the other side with Mike McDaniel? We'll see. I have no clue. Everybody's hyped about it. We'll see how this works out, right? We know he wasn't really that great of a head coach, but by what everybody says, his offensive planning, we'll see if that works. Defense, we lost our coordinator, right? He's now the Ravens head coach. They are like betting favorites to win the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like they're in the top 5 with the Bills, right? With some of these teams. And then we have Chris O'Leary, and it came out today in a presser like, yeah, it's going to be the same players. And I got 2 different things. I got a linebacker telling me one thing, and Derwin James, our safety, saying something different. And they're not trying to give too much information. This is going to be a whole different defense, and then it's not. So I'm like, which one is it, guys? And I have no clue. And so, because that was one of my theories, I'm like, this is just going to be Minter 2.0 with O'Leary's kind of magic going on it. All they're saying is it's going to be fast, and it's going to be a simple, fast, aggressive defense, something like that. I don't know. I was like, okay, that's just talk.
Who's the defensive coordinator?
It's Chris O'Leary. This is his first time NFL as
college, right? he
was our safeties coach. Then he went to college, and he came back. They were grooming him to take over for Minter.
Zed, I'm going to give you one comment here. I know I've said it before on the show. We had a similar challenge when Fangio left with the Broncos.
Yeah.
So one of the only good things about my Broncos during that little block of time was our defense was actually quite good. Like Fangio
I remember. Yeah.
like Fangio is legit. Like he basically took trash and turned it into treasure. He was a legitimately gifted defensive coordinator, even though he's a head coach. But the defensive side of the ball was excellent. Now, when Fangio left, the Broncos attempted a similar thing to what you're going through right now, where they try to say, "Look, defense was really good. Don't worry, guys. We're going to go ahead and kind of keep the same defense, and blah 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 blah." The net was that Vance Joseph got blown out of the water when he tried to basically reconstitute Vic Fangio's defense.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Because he was basically a snake oil salesman, right? He was basically saying, "I'm trying to pretend to be Fangio, but it's not really going to work because that's not how I run things."
Man.
Yeah, exactly.
The in-game instincts, like the flow of the game, is a real thing, and Minter was really good about that. He knew how to adjust on the fly. It was freaking fantastic to watch. Why the Ravens are so high on this guy being a head coach. Now, if Chris O'Leary gets way too cute, it could be a huge failure. Now, they did inject some great talent on that defense. I'm really high on our D-line. I think our D-line can be probably one of the best in the division. I haven't said that until right now. And I know that's pretty hard to say with Benito and your guy. You're probably like, you're high. And I will say we shall see in this season. I'm extremely excited about these guys. Now, and it's because of some young youth that are older young youth coming right in on that D-line and what they've added in the interior.
Yeah.
I think this D-line could be the best D-line in the division, if not tops in the AFC. Okay. Now the defense. Now Richie. Now if the defense. Now say Chris O'Leary comes in and struggles, right? Rightfully so, right? Being a first-time guy, definitely. If they take a few pegs down, I'm fine with it. They were a top 10 defense, top 5 defense at times last season. Now the offense. That's what was killing us last year. If that offense comes up, right? You can get up there. If you can get that offense up and that O line up, it balances out. And I'm going to be, giving pull kind of thing. We went into the playoffs, I think, with like one of the worst ranked offensive lines a piss poor offensive scheme, rankings, the whole nine, with a really good defense, right? And it just didn't work out. We need those to be closer together in all phases. So we'll see how this works out. But yeah, very could fall on its face, and I hope it doesn't. But I've got faith in Jim Harbaugh and what they felt like they were doing with Chris O'Leary. We'll see. And
I have questions for both of those teams and the Chiefs, right? And I'll start with the Chargers. You bring in an offensive coordinator and Mike McDaniel, who is his character and personality with Harbaugh.
Yeah, they can't stop talking about
it. It's just, come on, you got two.
No, they love each other.
Well, I don't know how if that's the case, but the media,
they're all about it, dude. Harbaugh wanted a guy to take over the offense
so he can have his hands out of it.
He's out of it. That's what Harbaugh is. Harbaugh is not an offense coordinator. It's not a D coordinator. He wants to oversee everything and just let their coordinators run the teams. You know what I mean? Like Kubiak's your head coach, right? But he's probably going to have his hands in that offense massively, right? You know what I mean? Jim's going to be out, and he's going to be like, he's a builder. He's just going to build these guys up. We'll see.
Yeah, well, Kubiak he got an offensive coordinator, but it's still his offense, his scheme. He'll still be calling all the plays and all that. So, but yeah, I question, how Harbaugh and Mike McDaniel is going to work. Both of those characters just don't seem right.
Right. Yeah.
Especially, I don't know how McDaniel.
I get it.
How McDaniels is going to be with, if it's not clicking right away. Harbaugh, and his roughness. It seems like Mike McDaniel's, more fragile if he's not used to being yelled at. He's a head coach, right? So I don't know how that scenario is going to work. And then, I think you kind of downgraded, right? You lose Jesse Minter on defense. So yeah. I feel like
you downgrade coordinator on defense.
Yeah, downgrade coordinator and you upgrade on offense. And, to get that to balance out, is their defense going to be the same? And then, you bring back Khalil Mack, who's, getting up there, right? What's his season going to be? Because it's obviously declining. So for y'all to have one of the best defensive lines, I think there's a lot of players that have to take, some big steps. And then on the defense, right? Y'all had solid games, but there was just a lot of games where, they were giving up more points than expected. And then you bring in a new defensive coordinator.
He had one of the lowest scoring defenses
with new pieces. Yeah.
Last year, though.
No, I'm saying
that was last year. I hate judging teams by year to year. That's all we have to go off of, right? But yeah, I see what you're saying. That's my only concern with this defense is, okay, so Mac, he's a year older, and they know that, but they're going to keep these guys on there. They're like Derwin James, like people. You could say he got overpaid. You know what I mean? They signed him to another 3-year, $75 million deal. It's a lot of deal, but that guy is a great.
How old is he?
He's 30.
30, yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, well, he's a great locker room guy. He plays the game how it should be played, right?
Yeah,
he doesn't have any BS off the field, right? He doesn't come in with that, and he has adjusted his game to keep him healthy these last few seasons. So he doesn't play. He's not he's a more of a box safety guy now. He's probably going to go down as one of the best edge rushing safeties in our generation. I think the guy has 19 sacks as a safety. There's the only one safety that's better than him. That's Kyle Hamilton right now. So sure, if you overpay him, he has to live in California. California taxes are bonkers, but whatever. Like you're gonna hook your guys up. Now Mac, he has Wolverine blood. The dude's a stud, but his sack game is not what it should be at, and that's rightfully so due to his age. But what he's great at, he keeps that run down on that side of the ball wherever he's at. They're not running on that side of the ball. And what he does, he muddies it up, right? Like I've only seen there's one guy I've seen since Khalil Mack's been with the Chargers that steals make Mac, and that was Penei Sewell, whatever you want to say, the guy from the Detroit Lions. He is the one dude I watched like pretty much handle. That was like 2 years ago. 2 years ago. I was like, damn, dude, that guy is special. I was like, holy shit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I was just saying because you look at the offensive line, right? And you look at Mike McDaniel's offense and what it was based on, right? You had Achon, you know, a kind of a not really
Speed, right?
speedy back, but a speedy back. You had 2 wide receivers, speedy wide receivers. His offensive system is based off of speed. Y'all don't have no speed over there.
So
you don't have the speed to run his system. How's that going to fit with his system? And then the offensive line, we went and brought in a bunch of young guys. So how's that going to fit?
So we brought in a center. We brought in a center who not just recently was a Pro Bowler with the Dallas Cowboys. He goes to Washington Commanders. They release him. Why? Because they got a whole new offensive scheme, whole new line, and they did him a favor, and the Chargers jumped on him. That was huge. That was like a gift to get Tyler Biadasz.
That was a windfall for you guys. That was a huge windfall.
People don't realize what the hell just happened. They got a guy. They're paying him $30-some-odd million for 3 years, right? And anyways, we'll get off that.
Yeah, that's pretty good deal.
Very special. I'm like trying to take money out of this, but we can leave money in there.
But my thing was, is it the same offensive line coach? Because I know there was
they brought over his O-line coach from Miami, which I wasn't thrilled on. But the guy that the Chargers had the last 2 years, Mike Devlin, was the worst offensive line coach in all of the league. He wasn't no Brendan Carroll, but he was absolute dog shit. This guy has a resume, and I have zero clue why he's even in the league. And I hope legitimately he does not have a job anymore.
Yeah, that was one of my big questions with him, is that offensive line coach, because you go get Mekhi Becton, you spend all that money, and for him to have the year that he did.
Well, Becton flourished.
Just playing y'all twice a year, I was like, man, this offensive line, the offensive line coach, I thought ours was bad, but it's got to be right up there.
Becton flourished 1 year with Philly,
and then got that bag.
No, he flourished 1 year. You have Philly, and they ran the most of the time. He comes to LA, and it's just, dude, he played a few good games in the beginning of the season. I mean, we went like 5-0, I think, like right off the bat, or whatever it was, or 4-0, or 3-0 in the division, something like that. All right, Ace, put down the weed.
16-1.
But with Mike McDaniel, so you go to wide zone scheme, right?
You had to put that up there, didn't you, Richie?
which you guys are going to go into. And what I'm hearing from the Dolphins fans is that they never invested in the offensive line, like with players. They went full speed, right? They went with weapons. All the Dolphin fans are like, we never invested in O-line. Now that he goes to LA, now they're giving him offensive linemen. They're like, damn it. So it's a tackle-heavy scheme. So you think that guards are going to be pulling, right, with this wide zone? In Mike McDaniel's system, it's the tackles that pull. The tackles are moving. Those are your chess piece on this offensive line, supposedly. But this is where this Harbaugh and McDaniel scheme marries. They are both going to a run-heavy style offense. Mm-hmm. This is where they're like going to get connected. People are like, and then you're saying speed. They bring in Keaton Mitchell. Keaton Mitchell, albeit he's dealt with his health issues, one of the fastest running backs. If they're trying to bet maybe he can get him healthy. Omarion Hampton is not a speed guy, but I'm high as hell on him. I think he can be.
I like Trey Harris, the wide receiver they got last year. I was big on him, and he hasn't really done nothing for y'all.
Well, he was just asked to be a freaking blocking wide receiver, bro. We had Greg Roman, the terrorist, as our offensive coordinator, and then they brought in Keenan Allen, who stunted Ladd McConkey. So it's going to be QJ Ladd, Trey Harris, who has got great hands. You still have KLS, and then they bring in Brendan Thompson, who runs a 4.26.
I like Brendan Thompson,
I'm high on him, but that might just be a special teams guy at first.
Yeah, like some end arounds, double reverses.
This offense is probably going to be a very run heavy, it's going to be just a different style, like that. I don't know. And I get what the speed is because of Tyreek and Waddle. They don't have a Tyreek. They don't have a Waddle. It's a different style. But they do have KLS. They do have Brandon Thompson. They do have Keaton Mitchell. These guys are all super fastest. They're not those guys. I don't think you can replace a Tyreek. Tyreek's one of one.
Yeah.
And then Jalen Waddle is also very special as well.
Over there on the Broncos now. But
Waddle, I know that guy.
Yeah, just looking at their, the structure of their offense, it was a bunch of, quick short plays and then, throw the ball deep, but you're throwing the ball deep right within 2 seconds and you're letting guys run underneath it in Miami. So that was that, that high pace.
I don't think this is going to be an offense that.
Yeah, I think he'll adapt a little bit more to what he's got, I'm sure. And he's not a head coach, right? So now he's just focused on the offensive side of the ball.
I don't think this is going to be an offense that we've seen before, to be honest with you guys. I think it's going to look like traits. Some people say it's going to look like similar to like the 2016 Falcons, but then what they brought in, people are like, that's going to change now. It's going to be different from that. And then you have Justin Herbert, so you're not going to just have him hand the damn ball off the whole time. You know what I mean? He's not Tua. Tua had zero arm strength, right? Like this kid. So it's going to be, like I said, I don't know what this offense is going to be like, right?
Yeah,
like,
but there's some question marks, definitely, like
huge.
Definitely
all
some question marks.
The average O-line Raider Rebel. I just want an O-line that can block, dude. That's all I want.
Right.
That's all I care about.
And then the Broncos. Let's get to the Broncos. So, the Broncos, I think they're pretty solid. They lost, some key piece on that defensive line. I think that's gonna, but you can replace that. But I'm looking at Bo Nix and I'm looking at Davis Webb, right? Calling plays now. Davis Webb coming in, calling plays. How's that gonna work with Sean Payton? How's that gonna, is it gonna change the offense? Is Sean Payton gonna still be, I'm sure he'll still be the play caller, right? And he'll still have his input in most of the offense. But how's that offense gonna change? And is it gonna be for the better, right? Because Davis Webb's still pretty green. Yes, he was a quarterback. Yes, he, had a couple of head coaching, jobs, one for us, interviews. But other than that, we don't know what that offense is going to look like, what he's going to bring, how much conflict there's going to be of Davis Webb trying to, get his offense out there so he can be seen and, and possibly move on to bigger and better things. So that's a question over there. And then other than that, I think that's about the only problem is can Bo Nix, be healthy coming off that injury. And I think other than that, their offensive line is, pretty solid. The defense is pretty solid. And, you're bringing
probably the best
back,
wide receiver room in our division.
Yeah, the wide receiver room's nasty. But my biggest concern is how they won last year, right? You look at most of their games for the Broncos. It was fourth quarter, right? Teams getting worn out. Come back. Bo Nix. That's not sustainable in the NFL. You're not going to have that. You're not going to have that every week. So you have to figure out your offense. You can't come into Vegas and put 10 points on the board and win this year. It's not going to happen, right? So we won. Y'all won that game 10-7 against a bad team, one of the worst teams in the division. And then the Titans game, I think you guys played. So there was a lot of games for the Broncos where they somehow pulled it out in the fourth quarter, right? Their defense stepped up, they got to stop, and Bo Nix came through. But I don't know how sustainable that's going to be this year. And some people say, their schedule wasn't the hardest. It feels like it's a much, much harder schedule to start. Definitely to start the season, the first 8 games for the Broncos, right? That's a little bit of a gauntlet there with Bo Nix. Is he going to be completely healthy coming off the injury? Is he going to be ready to go? And then I had a question for you. I seen a picture on Instagram of Bo Nix's leg where it was like it looked like it was bent like this. So I don't know if it was a true story or not, but does he have like a former injury or something to his leg? Because his shin looked like
that wasn't Alex Smith's leg that they were trying to say was Bo Nix.
Trying to say it was Bo Nix because I seen that and I was like, how is that kid mobile and how sustainable is that going to be? For over your NFL career. But yeah, that's the only questions I have with them. You bring in a Waddle, you give them that speed on the outside and the target. I think that's going to be a big difference. But that's the only thing I see is how's Sean Payton going to work with somebody else scheming up the offense.
So we'll start with the Knicks stuff and I'll go to the Webb stuff in a minute because I think the Webb stuff might surprise you. My opinion on it because I'm typically really critical like very critical actually of my team, which is kind of what ingratiates me with many other fan bases, because I don't just sit there and say that my team's going to kill you just because it's my team.
Right.
So number one, Bo Nix. Bo Nix has hurt himself more than once on his ankles, and he's had multiple issues throughout college with his ankles in terms of issues and problems.
Yeah.
Now, that's a good and a bad thing. Number one, the good. He has clearly been able to bounce back and play at an elite level after those injuries. So therefore, his body heals very well, and he has a proven track record at recovery. So that's number one. Number two is he is one of the most elusive quarterbacks in the NFL to bring down for a sack. Not even close. Literally not even close. If you look at his rookie year as a quarterback, as a starter, to his credit, he had some not great stats like interceptions and some other things, which is uncharacteristic for him. But if you look at how he did as a rookie quarterback in terms of sack avoidance, as in like avoiding those big hits and those other things of that nature and whatever, he was elite, not just good, elite as a rookie in terms of avoiding that sack or that big hit and that sort of thing. So I think that's a pretty big banner thing that Bo Nix can kind of hang his hat on, which I think will be very helpful given the fact that he's coming off an injury and he's going to want to ease himself into it and, you know, yada, 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 so on and so forth. Now, the benefit that Nix also has coming out of this is that he's already been through this before. He knows what to expect. He's been through the hits immediately after an injury. This is not something that is unique or new to him. He's just used to this, so I think he'll be fine. So I'm not nearly as concerned with Bo Nix. And by the way, this cleanup surgery nonsense that made it all through the news and stuff, I know exactly what he went through. It is literally like a nothing burger. I know exactly what happened. I know why he had it done. I know why they did the thing. My gut reaction from what I heard from that, I don't have any information to confirm that what I'm saying is true, but I've had my leg shattered playing rugby before. I've been through multiple surgeries on my right leg, including having pins added, removed, added again, and removed again because I've broken it twice just for fun. Why not? So
why not do it again?
So basically, the long and the short of it is when you have pins put in your leg, your body forms calluses over them. Yeah. And a lot of doctors will ask and want you to leave those pins in because it allows for structural benefit to your leg. Mm-hmm. However, if you do break that same leg again with those pins in it, you run the risk of the calluses that are around the outer part of your bone chipping off, and you end up what are called floaters in your ankle. Those floaters are a danger to you as a professional or highly competitive athlete because they can start getting into where the cartilage is and you can start getting real aggressive arthritis. It is my opinion, for what it's worth, that he had pins that were probably left in his ankle from maybe one of his past surgeries or something along those lines. And when he broke his ankle this go around, I think some of the scar tissue, callus, whatever you want to call it, I think chipped off and was floating in his ankle. And I think that the doctors took the extra precaution this time after the surgery was done to remove the pins and remove the bone spurs that were floating in his ankle so that he didn't run the risk of cartilage damage. That's what my opinion is. And that is a slightly more involved surgery to have done, but it is literally a nothing burger when it comes to these NFL players because it is no difference than a cleanup surgery that you hear these guys have all the time. Like, I bet you out of all of our teams, 3 or 4 dudes on each of our teams had a cleanup surgery done this offseason, and you didn't even know about it.
Yeah, nobody heard about it. Okay?
Yeah. So I'm not concerned about the Bo Nix surgery or issue. I've said this publicly. I'm not going to renege on what I said now. It is exactly what I think, and I believe I'm correct. Now, that's the Bo Nix side of it. Let's move on to the Davis Webb. Sean Payton has had 3 separate interviews, including one that was really, really candid, like very candid. Sean Payton said that this was about a year earlier than he wanted to give up play calling duties, and he did so because they believe Davis Webb is a special guy. Davis Webb also agrees that he wants to stick with Sean Payton because he thinks Sean Payton is a special guy. This is a marriage made in heaven, as it were. You have a guy who's on the upwards trajectory who wants to stay with the head coach that's there and turned down and removed himself from head coaching opportunities throughout the league as the interview process went on, because he believed that he had more to learn under Sean Payton than he did trying to take a flyer job at some other organization, because that is more detrimental to him than it is staying with the Broncos. So that's number one. That tells me a lot, actually, about Davis Webb. Davis Webb could have been one of these greedy coordinators that wanted to move on to be like the guy, and most often they fail, and they fail miserably, and then they're never given an opportunity again. It's my opinion that Davis Webb is seeing this as a bit of a long haul opportunity with my Denver Broncos. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. I think that Sean Payton and Davis Webb are working in tandem, where Sean Payton will go to the end of his contract, and I think Davis Webb will end up taking over as the head coach of the Denver Broncos, because I think Davis Webb is kind of being groomed in that direction. And I think Sean Payton and the Walton Penner ownership, they have a business mentality. And again, this is just kind of the way the cookie crumbles within business.
Yeah.
Is you're always looking at a proper succession plan, and you're operating it as a business, and you're willing to pay top tier talent to stick around, even if it's a little bit over market value. But if they're that good, you're like, dude, he ain't leaving the building. Go back to the office. Here's your extra $3 million a year or $4 million a year. Like, you're the succession plan. Just sit tight.
Yeah, I think the Broncos were very solid last year. I just think, some of those games were just down to the wire, and I think that's going to be a question.
Now, this is where I agree with you. The Broncos cannot have sustained success with their model that they had last year. And I believe that this is one of the reasons why Sean Payton agreed to hand the reins over to Davis Webb.
Okay.
It is my opinion that Davis Webb had his mock game plans as part of the planning last year, and I believe Sean Payton and he probably worked together on them. And I believe that Sean Payton likely applied some of Davis Webb's mock game plans and his, what he thought and everything.
Yeah.
I think that Sean Payton reflected back on the games and realized that some of the play calls that Davis Webb had in mind would have potentially put them further ahead in points earlier in the game. And that would have changed the trajectory at the game level, at the game planning level and whatnot. So you remember the Broncos back when we were in our kind of 2013, 2014, 2015 Super Bowl runs, where we had like Von Miller in his prime, and we had the other defensive players that were there. And we were a legit dangerous team at that point in time, kind of in the NFL history. If you look at what Wade Phillips was able to do with the defense with DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller when we had leads in games, and because Peyton Manning was, Peyton Manning, we were able to get up in games because he was literally a better offensive coordinator than most of the coaches on the team. And so Peyton Manning was able to get us ahead in games so that we were 10 points up, 12 points up, and what have you. Well, then you have Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware kill it. Like, we had them tee off in games and get 3, 4, 5 sacks at the end of the game just because we were able to just do NASCAR packages and kill.
Pin your ears back and go.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and we also saw Brock Osweiler come in a fair amount when Peyton Manning was in his last year, not only due to injury, but also due to some of the leads that we were having in certain games and whatnot as well, right? Well, I think that Sean Payton has recognized that there was a number of games last year that the Broncos really had no right being as close as we were in those games. We should have been way further ahead from an offensive perspective. And I think Sean Payton likely consultant Davis Webb and believed that his offensive game plan would have maybe put us ahead in the scoring side of things. And I believe that that's where we're at. Sean Payton has made
Broncos
several
offensively. When Dobbins went down, like that threw a huge monkey wrench
Mm-hmm.
in their offense.
So we brought back J.K. Dobbins as well, who, when healthy, is a top 5 or top 3 running back in the NFL. He is very good. And we brought in Coleman.
It's a little bit.
That's a little rich, dude.
Look at his stats.
But his stats, his stats wise,
he's good. He made your offense turn, but I don't think he's a top.
For the amount of carries, I think he could be up there.
I still don't like it. I love your guys' wide receiver room. I do not like your running back room. I thought McLaughlin, Harvey, Bidet, and then Dobbins. Like, you still don't have like that power guy that you want.
You don't have, they don't really have that. That guy on the edge that bursts with that burst. I feel like
we have
Dobbins
Coleman.
can do it when he can, but
we have Coleman. We have Dobbins, who are basically the same style. They're basically these like similar stylistic. They're similarly from a stylistic side. And then you have RJ Harvey, who is a bounce outside speed pass catching running back. Now, where you get into some interesting stuff is outside of those three, who else do you got? Right? You have RJ, Coleman, and JK, and then you have a bunch of I don't knows on the roster. So
that's what's making me think like you guys. Is there a chance that you guys still like bring in somebody, or are you waiting for June 1st cuts? Like, or are these just the guys they want to rock and roll with? It's just maybe that's the scheme. That's the style.
In my opinion, Jaleel McLaughlin will likely be kept around just because he's got that quick burst and he's literally a fan favorite within Sean Payton. Sean Payton loves that dude. But I, in my opinion, what I've wanted, and I think this is incredibly important, is you need that power, large, pass-catching combination dude. So you need a dude like a Marion Hampton. You need a dude like you're just talking Najee Harris. You need a guy who is in a
Ashton Genty
frame, an Ashton Genty. You need a larger-bodied, pass-catching combo dude that can kind of be a Swiss Army knife for you and do a bunch of things.
Isn't Genty 5'8"?
Yeah.
No, he's 5'8", but he's a great
5'8",
he's a great look, he can wear heels and lifts and be whatever height he wants, right? But the point is that he's a bowling ball. He's quick. He's got speed. He's got good center of gravity. He's got a great combination to make him a solid player at the NFL level. The Denver Broncos need a bigger-bodied, kind of like power-style guy. In my opinion, I think that we're going to use a tight end for that role in the fullback position. Now, whether or not we keep our proper fullback, one of my favorite guys on the roster, Adam Prentice, that dude is a beast. He's like one of my favorite fullbacks in the NFL. Undrafted free agent by my Denver Broncos. We let him go. I am on record. You can see my old X tweets as well as my forum posts on Broncos. I had a few choice words for the Broncos for letting him go. And by the way, here's a fun fact in trivia. The coach that picked Adam Prentice up was Sean Payton when he was with the Saints. Which tells you all you need to know.
Right? And says it all.
That says it all, right? And so anyways, long and the short of it is this. I think Davis Webb is going to be given the reins to call the plays, but he's going to be having the wisdom of Sean Payton beneath him to ensure that there is a sounding board.
Look, he's probably obviously shown something, dude, for Sean Payton to be like, dude, I'm giving it up. He's going to step back and just be like the mentor. You know what I mean? Like, take it over. Like, there's like a saying. I forget the saying, but he's like, the
protege.
Yeah, like the sensei or the
sensei protege,
something like that.
Young grasshopper,
young Padawan.
But I did want to say offensively, obviously Waddle for me, that was my for the Broncos. That's a huge addition. Like just massive, especially to pair with Cortland Sutton, who we know is, that super high end number 2, still with Troy Franklin, and you got Pat Bryant there. You got little Jordan Hemphrey. You got a lot of dudes there who I like. They fit your guys' scheme. But a guy that you guys drafted, Jolly, like I think that's what you were missing in that tight end room.
The tight end.
That with the other guys. And I think that's another weapon who will eventually, and we talked about this weeks ago, but who could push Ingram out. You know what I mean? Like this could be Ingram's last season with you guys.
I have Ingram getting cut.
Or could be that, or could be cut, yeah. But that might be tough since he's such a rookie. But those are the two guys weapon-wise, pretty high on for the Broncos. I think those make a lot of sense. Good weapons, good stuff.
Another guy that I want you guys, Rebel, I don't think you hear the last 2 shows, but I did bring him up the last show. Just a guy that is an interesting dude that most other teams would not pay attention to. A tight end. We drafted him in the 7th round last year by the name of Caleb Lohner.
Yeah, I was just looking at him.
Now, Caleb Lohner is 6'7", 260 pounds. He is a former basketball player, convert to tight end.
He's a freaking tackle.
He's a massive dude. Like, he is a large human being. And he was basically redshirted last year. He was kept on our practice squad. Now, here's the kicker. This is hilarious. I just found out this year. We were never told this in Broncos country. It never got leaked until this year. The defense, as in Vance Joseph, used Caleb Lohner in multiple practices because of his athleticism, as an edge rusher, as one of the scout team players, because the dude was so fast and so physical that they needed a scout team guy to play on the edge and kind of play like the defensive role. And he did so well in terms of leveling up his physicality on the when he was on the practice squad last year.
Yeah.
I found this out as well. He had 3 different teams try to pull him away, and he refused all 3 teams because he felt that the Broncos were a better fit for him.
Okay.
And as a result of his loyalty to the team, Sean Payton, in the last game of the season, elevated him and gave him a game check.
Nice.
So he's a dude that I think a lot of other teams they're not going to pay attention because they just don't think much of him because he's just kind of like, a 7th round throwaway. But he has 4 touchdowns in college on 4 receptions. So he has a perfect 100% red zone.
Can't beat that.
No. And so he's just a guy that I think a lot of other NFL teams, fanalists, etc., just don't know a lot about. He's come into the rookie mini camp like he had guys just like ranting about how much of a step he's taken forward. He's a big-bodied, large wingspan, red zone physical threat. And one of the things that he worked on, DZ, just your comments on Jolly kind of brought it up for me. Caleb Lohner, his number 1 off-season piece that he worked on, number 1 was physicality.
Okay.
He said, I want to get more physical, I want to make more contested catches, and I want people to recognize the fact that I'm a force on the field.
6'7" and physical is scary. It's just scary.
I just want my tight ends to catch the ball. That's all I care about.
And so
catch the ball.
He's got massive hands because of his basketball background. That obviously was a prerequisite for him. He's got huge wingspan because of his height. He's just a tall dude. And I think that he's going to be a guy that, DZ, your point is Evan Ingram did not do a whole lot. Yeah. Evan Ingram was kind of a disappointment for the Denver Broncos.
Whatever their plans they had for him, it just didn't.
It did not work out. He got hurt. He didn't do the stuff that he was needing to do. He didn't get himself open. And then when he had opportunities, he had a fair number of drops that were low-key, like major issues for the Broncos last year that were really problematic. And so I think I've said it on a couple other shows. I think Caleb Lohner makes the 53. I think Justin Joly makes the 53. I think you obviously are going to have Troutman likely make the 53 just because of the contract that they gave him. And then the question then becomes, do you keep a proper fullback or do you keep a tight end fullback combo? If you keep a tight end fullback combo, I think that tight end fullback combo guy is going to be Nate Adkins, who's one of my favorite tight ends on our roster. I think he is, in my opinion, the best well-rounded tight end on the Broncos. And then I think Declan, the guy that we drafted in the later rounds, makes the roster as well, just because he's too good of a combo guy as well.
You think you have that many holes on your roster?
No.
I don't think you have that many. Who's they going to push out?
Oh, that'll push out the fullback that we had on the roster last year.
The Broncos, out of all the teams going into this offseason and draft, like had the least amount of holes. Like,
yeah, I don't see them changing up too much of the route. They might keep a lot of those guys for the practice squad, but I don't see them changing too much of their roster.
For the Raiders, real quick, I'm like really excited about Mike Washington. Like, I think that I'm high on him because he's a complete opposite back of Jenkins.
Yes.
And I think that's a little bit of lightning and thunder. I think it makes too much sense. And then
comes from a wide zone system in Arkansas, so he knows,
Yeah, dude. I think
the cut back lanes more than Ashton Genty, did, so.
And then just looking at Trey Zune real quick, I didn't realize he was that big as a guard.
Yeah.
That dude is 6'7". That is massive for a guard.
He played tackle most of his career, I do believe. I don't think he played any guard.
So they're projecting him to move inside,
in college. Though? Yeah. So I think he played a couple games at center, and then something happened and he had to move over, I believe, for left guard, and he played like 3,000 snaps in his career at left tackle, not left guard. Sorry, at left tackle. So he's never really played the guard position. He's saying with his confidence and his alpha attitude that I can play every position on this roster, and they're like, okay, you're gonna play every position on this roster then. So they've been moving him around.
They'll probably have him move all around. They're gonna rotate him in and out everywhere.
Yeah, so his athleticism, his RAS scores were off the charts for as big as he is. So the guy moves well. He has
that's another thing. I'm glad you brought up the RAS score. A lot of the guys that the Chargers with this regime they're all in the high. Like, I think somebody did it, and I don't know if I bookmarked it. All our O linemen are in the 9s.
Yeah,
that's all up in the 9s. Like,
that's how I think we just drafted RAS scores. This is somebody saying in the Raiders. They're like, man, do we just go out and draft, the best, the highest RAS scores? Because that's
now,
what
not all the
like
time does that come to fruition, because we had a fullback guy who had almost like a 10. And he didn't make it, but
you got to have the mentality and the knowledge. Yeah, you got to have it between the ears. It can't just be all athleticism. But Mike Washington, is where we got him in the 4th round. I had him as my 3rd best running back in this draft, and I only put him at 3rd because I was trying not to be biased because I'm a Razorback fan. So I had him at 2nd, right? I feel like
the Hemby connection makes sense, obviously, to Mendoza, but I don't think he can. I got Mike Washington, but it's a good room. I do see, like somebody said, I know we got to wrap this up earlier. They're like, why would you bring in a vet? And I guess it kind of, if you're bringing in a vet fullback, Genty's already got a year under his belt. I guess those 2 rookies. So you're going to usually probably have 3 running backs and a fullback in a room, right, to make the 53. Yeah. So I could see those guys.
And then you got Lobby's going on his 3rd or 4th year, which he'll. So
who's not going to be the guy? There's going to be an odd man out, right?
Yeah. So it's we're there. Some people are saying we keep 3 and a fullback. Some people are saying 4 and a fullback. I just don't.
You can do 4 if it's a heavy run game.
Yeah, if you keep that fullback as one of your tight ends, which I could see him doing that because we have Carter running and Ian Thomas, and he can push one of those guys out. I hope it's not.
So it's going to be
Carter running.
Bowers, Mayer, And then you said Ian Thomas?
I think Ian Thomas and then Carter Runyon are, those guys. But I feel like Carter Runyon is a better blocker. His RAS scores were like a 9.96 coming out, his year. So I don't know how that kid wasn't drafted. And he's
college tape.
Yeah, very, very physical. Can catch the ball. Reminds me kind of a Michael Mayer type. So
that's like the problem with like tight ends. And like I was kind of getting at this, what is like if you have certain running backs or tight ends on the field and the defense goes like, dude, that guy's a damn good blocker, but I know he can't catch for shit. Like
right?
they kind of like it pigeonholes these guys. So like that's why you're saying like I don't know how that guy didn't get blocked, but maybe he is not he has like very few pass attempts or catch attempts or stuff like that.
Yeah, so I could maybe more of a blocker in college, but I could see a scenario where they maybe they do keep 4 running backs and keep Hemby and Lobby and just have Labe as that, not the running back, but a guy could because he plays special teams, offense and defensive wise. So
yeah, I mean, do you think Lobby could be odd man out with this new regime?
I feel like he's the odd man out, but from what I'm hearing, a lot of people are saying that Lobby makes it over Roman Hemby, which to me is crazy because Roman Hemby's he's an athletic back that can do it all. He can block. He can catch out of the backfield.
NFL, man.
I mean, he can he can do it all. And I think Labe is fighting for his life because he was the kick returner last year. He was that second guy.
6 foot 210, dude. Like great size.
Yeah, and Labe is what 5'8", 220 pounds. So but he's that guy that it just depends on what Kubiak wants, right? If he needs a guy that he feels like could come out of the backfield just to run wheel routes, and catch the ball out of the backfield instead of having Ashton Genty, taking that abuse, then I can still see Lobby making it.
It's a good problem to have, right?
Yeah, it's a damn good problem to have.
Yeah, you've got a nice, stable running backs.
I mean, we have competition at the offensive line, at the running back room, at the quarterback room, defensive line. We have nothing but speed in the backfield at safety now and corners. So there's competition throughout this roster for the first time in, I want to say a good five years. There's competition, and they're gonna have a hard time keeping 53. Really, it's gonna be where some guys that have probably been here for a minute, and guys get hurt. So there's gonna be some of that. I think some players on this roster of guys that may have been here 3-4 years. And
dude, we already lost a UDFA guy that I was like, oh hell yeah, I got a guy from Florida State because Florida State is DBU in my opinion.
Yeah,
and I was like, he was a UDFA guy, cornerback. I'm like, yes, I love cornerbacks. You can never have enough cornerbacks on a team.
Right.
Boom, already like, I'm out. God bless. I'm like, I see him in a boot. I'm following him on Instagram. I'm like, man, fuck my life, dude.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate that for these young kids, especially the UDFAs trying to.
And this was like weeks ago too. So one of their I'm like, how the F did that happen?
Yeah, we had that problem with JPJ when he had a concussion in rookie minicamp. Like they had a helmet on his shorts. How you get a concussion? Like how physical can you be playing to get a concussion? And
shower or something.
Yeah, he missed most of his the first couple games of his rookie season because of a concussion and most of training camp. So. I don't understand how you get concussion and with no pads or anything on. So that doesn't make no sense. But man, I hate to hear that for those guys, that are out there struggling to try to make a roster shot and get injured and could be it.
100%. I mean, the other problem that you end up with is that some guys can make a go of it in college because they are the biggest, strongest, most athletic guy on the field or whatever. And then they get to the NFL and they're like, oh, it's now like me and I'm like average. Like I'm not even like the best anymore. Right. I am like average at this point. And you see like Baker Mayfield, I think, is a great example of that at the NFL level. If we're going to kind of be honest, like Mayfield was one of the faster, kind of more elusive dudes at the quarterback position. He was able to make throws and kind of like scramble around and do his thing. he went to Cleveland and been like, "Oh, I did this at college. Don't worry, I got it. Hold my beer." And he's like, "Wait, like, what do you mean that 330-pound dude can outrun me? I don't understand."
Yeah, right. He's not supposed to catch me. He was not.
Yeah,
He was
it's like, did you see the size of the guy that just caught up to me? I don't get it. Like,
and you had the angle.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it was, that's a very, very common thing, unfortunately, where you see a lot of guys get humbled. Now, to Baker's credit, though, he has since matured and improved, and good on him. He is now excelling at the NFL level, but so many dudes in his position just don't have the ability to humble themselves and understand that it is such a problem at the NFL level.
Well,
and
so when you pay guys,
good on him,
when you pay guys $7 million, a season in college, like, how do you expect somebody to come into the NFL humbled? You know what I mean? Like, it's just it's a huge problem. Like, you can't give a 17-year-old, 16-year-old, 17, 18-year-old kid $3 million a season and then ask him to come to the NFL and act like his shit don't stink, right? It's just
100%, 100%. And a lot of it comes down to if they were pumped up too much in their high school and college teams, it comes down a lot, I think, to parenting with the parents in their lives and stuff like that, kind of giving them some realistic expectations of what they can expect when they get to the NFL level. And frankly, I think a lot of these kids, and I call them kids just because they're like, they're not that old when they're coming out of college anymore in many cases. A lot of them are not self-reflecting in terms of going to the NFL and seeing what these NFL players can actually do. And then saying, oh, okay, now I get it. You know what I mean? And I think that more of these college guys need to humble themselves a little bit, get out of their own way, and start to realize that even if you are a first-round draft pick, you still have a 50% bust rate. Like, you are not making it past it's bad. So,
speaking of draft picks, real quick, I just noticed that my team still has 2 unsigned rookies. Do you guys know if you guys are all signed up?
We have 3.
Okay, because Mesidor for me and Brendan Thompson are unsigned still.
Yeah, we got
a few on our team too.
We have cool. Mendoza, Gerard McCoy, and Karan Crawford.
Okay.
McCoy is actually fighting over some injury language right now in his contract. I know that.
But, I'm sure he's going to want as much guaranteed as he can get, and I feel like the Raiders are going to give it to him just because they know the situation. Right? You could play 1 year, you could play 2 years, you could play 5.
If you could get that guy to play, if he's got 3 years in him, whatever those rumors are, why not, dude? If he's got 3 elite years, rock and roll.
You're going to pay him in the entirety of his rookie contract less than you will pay him when you re-sign him to his second contract if he balls out, or even close to balls out. So the whole point here is, look, eliminate the injury guarantees. Worst case scenario, you pay out the remainder of his rookie deal. It's not that bad. And if you get 1 or 2 years that are amazing out of him, awesome. If not, you tried.
Yeah.
And I think that's a reasonable approach given an organization that's trying to build on the upward trajectory. In addition to that, if he doesn't get hurt and kills it, he will remember the fact that you didn't make his life difficult when he came out of college from the injury stuff, and he'll give you a little bit extra as you're trying to re-sign him on the second deal.
Little discount. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So guys, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was gonna say, in the McCoy situation, if he reminds me of the Raiders. They drafted a guy, I do believe, in Todd Gurley, who had the same situation, same injury, right? Where he had a bone plug in his knee, and they didn't know if he was going to play, right? High draft pick, had gone through the same things. They, kind of
Him
set
and
up a
Melvin
routine.
Gordon
Yeah. So, he ended up playing 5 years in the NFL. And
was damn good for what?
And damn
years.
good, right? Damn good.
Yeah.
So if McCoy can, if you can get 3-4 years out of it.
His last year was a rough watch. But
because
dude, he's got money. He's probably set his family up if he was smart about it, and he's got wealth. Like he can take care of his family. He probably doesn't have to work the rest of his life. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if they can get this guaranteed, why not, dude? I'm all for it, man. It's not for long.
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah. So that'll do it for the show. We kind of covered a little bit of the schedule there, a little bit of the players, a little bit of the news. Next week, we're going to delve right into the details of OTAs. We have rumors of OTAs for a couple of our teams, early on stage of OTAs for the rest of us. Overall, the Raiders Rebel here did a fantastic job representing his team, awesome. laying down the deets in terms of information, facts, as well as a well-balanced approach. Everyone, if we can go ahead and thank Raiders Rebel in the chat during the show, let's go ahead and give him a round of applause. And in the comments down below after the fact, I want to see some thanks for Raiders Rebel coming into the show and doing a fantastic job here on the show, filling in for Nav. And Raiders Rebel has his own channel. If you can go ahead and quickly plug that for me here. Look, all of our fans like to get information on the opposing teams. You put out a tremendous amount of content on the Raiders. Go ahead and leave that for us as we close out the show.
Yeah, it's at Raiders Unleashed. And then, I have pretty much it's at Raiders Unleashed on everything, X, Snap, Facebook. So yeah, same thing on pretty much everything. I'm on every social media that you could think of. Just added Rumble. Is it Rumble? I think
Rumble's the bomb, man. I love it.
Yeah, so I just added that to the so go over there and subscribe. I need 5 subscribers, so I just started it today to go live. So if you can go over there and subscribe to the channel over there, I'd appreciate it, and we can start going live on that as well.
Oh, it's Raiders Rebel for X.
Yeah, Raiders Rebel _ for X. Appreciate that, Fader Raider. What would I do without you? Gotta have true fans. Appreciate it.
So again, I want to thank everyone for joining the show. Love the comments here. Down below in the description, you will find all of our channels. We got DZ with his Chargers channel. I am part of the MHRT network, which is a whole plethora of Colorado sports. Don't be fooled. I am nowhere near Colorado. I live up in the central part of Ontario in Canada. And so I am just a mere Broncos fan here from Canada. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining the show this evening. We're going to have lots more content for you. We're going to have a lot more stuff. I also want to hear from you on X. I want to hear from you in the comments down below. We can bring in, probably before the season starts, one common opponent to have a sit-down conversation with about what they think and all that sort of stuff. What do you guys think? Who do you want to see? What team do you want to see? And I will make it happen. So go leave those comments down below, and we'll kick this Wild Wild West show off with a bang. Ladies and gentlemen, until next week, where the West Side's the best side. Peace.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute, work hard.